13th, if we could all stand and pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, this is a little different than my second and third graders.
Sorry.
So, you should all have an agenda in front of you. When we get to Chase Park, we'll add, we need to talk about the benches, what we're gonna do over the winter. So let's add that, and I'm not sure where in the agenda, but I don't know if you saw in your emails, we got budgets for next year that have to be acted upon by the 30th. So we're gonna have to talk about that because we got them like on the 14th, and it doesn't even give us 2 weeks, and we don't have another meeting, so. And I didn't have a chance to reach out to Beth, so I do wanna add the budget for next year to the meeting.
Okay.
But to start with, public comment, did you guys sign in? Yeah, okay, so you're up.
So,
If you wanna stand at the podium and introduce yourselves, give where you live.
address and everything?
Yeah,
Okay.
please, just so that we can have.
Am I
the
gone?
minutes.
Sure. My name is Debbie Conant, and I reside at 270 Tiffany Hill Road. Here. I sort of put out a feeler for a tree lighting ceremony, and got a lot of positive responses. So I know there's a short window, and was wondering what can we do from here, in terms of trying to get some of it off, running right
So
now.
typically, in the past years, and not that we can't change this, but the commission has done the tree decorating kind of thing the weekend after Thanksgiving, usually on the Saturday, barring that it's not snowing or super frigid weather. So we do have a little bit of time
Okay.
to plan that. I haven't had a chance to let the commission know, but we have received a donation of a Christmas tree from Eldon and Chrissy Towns. So they'll be giving us a Christmas tree for the gazebo, so that's actually been taken care of.
I know also too that there were some comments that people wanted to help out. So,
So here's where we stand right now, as far as I know. We lost pretty much all our lights because somebody cut them,
oh no,
and so they're ruined. So we had to take them down and throw them away.
okay.
We were on the second year of the decorations, the bows, those kinds of things, and because of the wind up there, they get pretty tattered. So for the most part, we will have to purchase new decorations unless, as you put your feelers out, if there are folks who have ideas and would like to donate, that would be great. In the past, we've tried to keep it simple, so lights around the gazebo itself. You guys help me if I miss something. Lights on the tree.
Lights on the tree, the lights on the top and around the railing,
And then we've done,
ribbons on the posts.
right, and we've had in the past the boughs, the real ones, if somebody has time to make them and get them there. Otherwise, we've just done the bows.
Okay.
We try not to put too many decorations on the tree for two reasons. The wind's gonna blow them off, or people are gonna take them off, because we have a lot of kids who hang out in the gazebo. That's part of the problem with the vandalism. We did do bows one year that we could tie on the tree
Okay.
to give it a little bit of more than just the lights. So, do you guys have questions or thoughts? I mean, I do, but before, I think
So-
anything my feeling is that anything the community wants to put together and help us with
Okay.
would be wonderful.
So, opening up Pandora's box here, so, in the grand scheme of things, we were thinking, chocolate, maybe cookies, Santa on a fire truck, something like that. And I know people were commenting that they have to go out of where to find that, and
Yeah.
that they'd really like to have it here. I'm willing to help out.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't know exactly what you need for decorating, like how much, or maybe we could put,
So a couple of things that we can do, and again, we have to go through the budget for today and look at what we're going to have left for the month of November and December. So we may have monies left. In the past, what we've done is we've voted a certain amount of money. We
Sure.
go to big lots
sure,
and we buy what we can buy.
sure.
Really isn't that expensive, but if somebody said, hey, I'll donate, I mean, it would be easy enough. Do you remember, Pam? I think it was 2 or if not 3 sets of lights that had to go. I think when I took them down after they got cut, there were at least 2 sets, I'm guessing 100 or more. 500?
Quite a few.
I think it was 3 sets of 100.
3 sets of 100 for the top and 3 for the bottom.
Yes.
So
So if somebody wanted to donate that, otherwise we would buy those.
100 light sets?
Yep.
Okay.
Like I said, the tree is coming. Probably, what would your thought, another 100 for the tree?
A lot more than that.
Oh,
We
more
had-
than
we had-
100.
We
Oh.
had a lot of lights on the tree, I think.
And white or colored, did we do
We
both?
did colored it on the tree.
Take notes on this.
Pam, do you remember a couple years ago, I think, didn't Historical Society did a tree lighting?
They may have.
I think they did. I think it was like they kind of did the ceremony.
It's been a while.
We already had it up, but then they
It
did
was
an
what-
official.
They haven't done it with the new gazebo. It was the old gazebo.
It was the
that
old
they did.
gazebo, okay.
So,
So I guess what I was thinking, if we could generate, and I could try to do it offline and send it to you. It's you I've been communicating with, yes,
Yep.
with email. We could kind of get a list of what we would need for decorations. I'm also thinking, depending on how our budget looks, I mean, we might be able to go to Dunkin' Donuts and just get some cartons of hot chocolate and maybe munchkins or something like that to make it
We'd also
easy.
see if anyone wants to help
Yeah,
those donations as well, because I know paper products will be
Right.
needed, and
right.
I don't know about table setup, or if you guys have tables, I don't know.
We don't have tables.
Okay.
I could acquire some.
You and I talked in the email, it would be nice if we could do Santa on a fire truck, but maybe we do something this year and make it bigger next year.
Okay.
I mean, I'm happy to reach out to the fire department and see what their thoughts would be.
So I
Is
know
it-
someone had mentioned something, that they knew someone who did that, so.
Is there somebody who you, in your communications with the public, is willing to
Sure, I can
dress up
ask.
like Santa?
I
If
can
we could
ask, yeah.
secure the fire truck?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
potentially have an access to a Santa, potentially.
Oh,
Okay.
that would be awesome.
So what, are kids listening to this?
Yeah, so we'll check Santa's schedule and see if Santa's available.
That'd be perfect.
I think what we can do is, through email, create a list of, here are the things that we would need,
Okay,
and then what can you get from the community, and what do we have in terms of a budget?
Perfect, yeah.
To be able to cover that, so that, we, for example, we might say we can cover the food and drinks.
Okay.
If people wanted to donate lights or bows, things like that. If somebody said, oh, I have a set up speakers to do music,
gonna
that would be great, there's
Okay.
power there.
okay.
That would be great too. So maybe, and then what we could do is come to the November meeting, because it will be before then, to firm everything up. Does that sound like a
It does.
possibility?
It does. So if Santa is able to make it, do we have a chair that he can sit in, or do we need to?
We can work on that.
Okay,
I think
perfect.
that's when we go back and forth
Okay.
of what we would need list-wise.
Okay.
And maybe if there are people listening, or in your string on Facebook or whatever you're doing, maybe folks can think about what other things would we want. Were there any thoughts? We typically do it in the daylight,
Okay.
only because it's been us and it's cold and windy generally. At least if the sun's out, it's not bad. Were they wanting to do it?
I think The actual,
Nighttime?
yeah, with the lights and,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
or maybe dusk
Yeah,
to make it a little bit easier. You know, I'm happy to, if you can send me exactly what you're looking for, what
Okay.
we can come up with. And, like, I know it's late, so we start and, you know.
It's
yeah.
not really, it's really not.
I know in past years, there has been a day when Santa has gone around town on the fire truck in a scheduled manner. So if Santa is already scheduled to do that, maybe Santa would want to make rounds all around the town and then end that at the gazebo.
Okay.
so I will reach out to the fire department
Okay.
and see if they have anything planned.
Okay.
And why don't we through email, using the park email,
Okay.
I can't remember if it's been you and I think I responded to your email, but we should use the general park so everybody
Okay, so
gets it.
I just go.
I
out to
think
the-
you started,
I may have started with you. I don't even know.
I think
how.
you started with Naomi, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I will respond to your email with the park
Okay.
email
so- okay.
address, and then we'll set up a string,
Okay.
and that's the one we should use to communicate, because then everybody can chime in
Okay. Perfect.
to that one. And then I do think we have plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's a great tradition that we could start, I think.
Absolutely.
I'm speaking for all of us, but I think we'd love to see us doing more types of things like this with the community. I mean, there was the movie night this summer. You know, it's just trying to get things that we could do to bring the community out.
Absolutely.
Would be wonderful, and we really appreciate that you have been willing to kind of spearhead that, and,
Perfect. Now I've
Go ahead.
already volunteered my son to help you guys decorate. So.
okay, there you go, there you go.
So if you can just send me a detailed list,
Okay.
because
Yep.
I won't remember half the stuff that
Sure, yep.
you said go on the tree.
I'll try to do
Do you
it.
know how big the tree is going to be? Is it?
I don't, but it only can be so big.
Like 6 or
Right.
8 feet.
6 or 8 feet.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, and thank you.
yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah, thank you.
talk and see you in November.
I wanted to just bring up one thing, is that we do the decorating the weekend after Thanksgiving. Santa doesn't do his tour until closer to Christmas.
Okay.
Okay.
So we either decorate that weekend in the morning, whatever, and then we do a tree lighting that night
Okay,
to do that, or we don't turn the lights on until Santa does his thing.
okay.
So the scheduling will have to be.
Is it, if I speak to the fire department, are they sort of have the knowledge of what that Santa schedule is?
Chief should have it, yeah.
Somebody at the fire department? Yep,
Yeah.
okay.
And I think,
I will start with, I think I'm gonna start there.
yeah,
Good point, Pam. I'll start there, because that, we can back from there. Do we decorate and then light? You know, what do we do?
I'm
So,
wondering if when the year that we had, the year the Historical Society did their lighting, I think we already had it lit. And then they just did a lighting ceremony, so we could still potentially,
or we could decorate and then not light it until we had that.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see what that date is.
So the
and
date's
how-
flexible.
Yeah.
We don't know yet, okay? Because people are asking about what the date was.
I will try by the end of the week, I'll do my best to find out from the fire department
Okay.
what Santa's schedule is.
Perfect.
And get that out to you, because then you can go from there and we can go from there.
Thanks, Ross.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome,
so
but we'll
much.
make it work, one way or the other. Thank you.
I know in years past, we've sung Christmas carols and
Yeah,
things around the tree.
Yeah, that would be great. I think that would be fun. Even if we did have to maybe get some of the decorating done, but just not light it up. And then have singing and hot chocolate and
Could light the
donuts and
gazebo.
then light.
That's true.
You could light the gazebo right after Thanksgiving and then leave the tree on
Yeah.
until Santa can come by.
Yep, that's a thought too. So if you guys could all chime in as we go back and forth at, whatever ideas you have, please.
Yeah. I would also like to say that if there are people in the community who also want to decorate for other holidays, that this can be inclusive and we can have a menorah or any other representation that people would like.
Sounds good? I was thinking you meant other holidays too, which is also, I suppose, an option,
Yeah?
but, 4th of July or whatever. All right, any more public comment? This point? No? Okay. Moving right along, I don't think, other than, I think I've done everything in terms of public thanks. Review of minutes, so is everybody ready to do some reviewing of minutes? So we have bounced the April 9th meeting minutes. I passed them out to everybody at the last meeting. Are we, did everybody get a chance to look at them and prepared to make any? So while if you need to take a quick look at them, I went through the website because there are a lot of minutes on the website that still say draft. So I did send an email to Naomi today, but I'll just read through this for the sake of the minutes. So the February 20th meeting are in draft format. They were approved at the June 11th meeting, and so those should have been changed based on those changes. The March 8th meeting, there's actually two sets on there, the draft and the final, so I've asked to have the draft removed. We had a meeting on March 20th, and there are no minutes to be found anywhere. It was a Thursday night, so if anybody, March 20th, I think was a Thursday, I'm not sure,
Was
but,
that when we discussed?
March 20th
Application?
was March 20th.
It was before my
We
time.
had people speaking about East Road, renaming Bolton Field, hiring Kirsten O'Brien for the minutes, the ex officio transition,
so.
bodies.
I'm wondering, Kim, and actually that was a Wednesday, so we must have moved would you have enough there to throw together just a quick set of minutes? If possible, at least we'd have something, so because we have an agenda out there, but we don't have any minutes. We're gonna do the April 9th minute approval tonight. The April 14th minutes, again, have both the draft and the final, so I've asked to have the draft removed. The June 11th minutes are in draft format. They were approved at our July meeting, so I've let, and the notes to that were sent along, so I've let Naomi know to change those to final with the changes. The July 16th minutes are in draft format. They were approved at our August meeting. An email was sent on September 17th with the corrections for the minute taker. So those need to get posted. And tonight, hopefully, we can get the August 16th minutes approved. And then all we would have left is September and tonight. They're running behind. So, oh yeah, and I think we have a site walkthrough. Yeah. She's running behind, so September's not available for us to review yet. So next month, we could do September and October, but that would clean up everything if we can get through.
One concern about removing the draft minutes from the website,
Yep,
they are an official record.
okay,
And they need to be made available to the public. The public needs to be able to see the draft.
Yep.
And then see the final to see what the changes are.
okay,
I think instead of asking to have them removed from the website, is to just change the name and have draft and final. Because when the town clerk gets the paper
Yeah.
copies, we copy the draft, we copy the final, we keep them in a book.
so I feel like it's not consistent in that if you go down through the minutes, the majority of them just say final. I don't think they've been, I know when I was doing minutes, I'd send the minutes up to the office and say, we approve these, I'd take the draft watermark off, and they would take the draft ones off the website and put the final on.
Okay.
And so that's not the way it should be done?
It makes it difficult when
Okay.
we have to go back and pull them if the drafts aren't there.
Okay, so the better way to do it then is to tell her,
Leave the
never
draft.
mind,
Yep.
leave the draft.
And title it draft.
Okay.
And then when it's approved and you're taking the watermark off,
Yep.
that becomes the final.
So maybe so there was quite a few on there that were draft and final. The only reason I asked to have them removed, because the majority of them are only the finals. So if we want to do that going forward, that's fine. I'll send her an email in the morning, tell her to leave the drafts. All right, so for tonight, we need to start with the April 9th minutes. Does anybody have any changes to the April 9th minutes?
Does anyone have a hard copy I could look at really quickly?
I think the only correction I had was my last name.
Again?
Again. But this is back in April. and we
Okay.
had Covered that.
So you'll write that in your notes,
Yeah.
your minutes, one correction to the
Yeah.
April 9th minutes is Matt's last name is spelled incorrectly. Needs to be changed. Is it throughout or just in one spot?
Wherever I'm used, yeah.
Okay,
And Purington is misspelled.
I think you just need to change your last names,
yeah, okay,
Sure.
to a P and a M, or a B.
whatever's in
All
the,
right, so they need to
I-
check the spelling on mine also.
Pretty much take my apostrophe out all the time. So it doesn't sound egregious to me.
While Pam's looking at those, anybody else have anything else? I didn't even pick up that my name was spelled wrong.
It's not consistent. Sometimes it's Purrington and sometimes it's Purinton.
Okay.
So but it's like in every paragraph, there's
Okay.
2 different spellings for
All
it.
right,
That would be the only, and then Matt's name,
okay.
but everything else looks okay.
Can I see it for a second?
Anything else? Did anybody?
Yeah, my name is also spelled incorrectly. 2 N's and 2 L's.
It's well, okay.
It's not consistent. It hasn't been
So-
consistent since we
So what,
were all,
when we make the motion to approve these minutes, if we could just state that those 3 names need to be corrected, but a check of all the names to be sure.
Okay.
So I would entertain a motion to approve these minutes with the stated changes, if anybody wants to do that.
I will make a motion to approve the April minutes with the spelling of all 3 names corrected.
Those names being,
Those names being Matt Beeler, spelled Bieler, Shelby O'Donnell, spelled O'Donnell, and Denise Purington, last name is spelled Purington.
and do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Further discussion, it's also Purington Field. It's not just Ms. Purington.
Okay,
So it's, anything that's Purington needs to be corrected,
Correct.
so it's correct.
okay, thank you.
Roger, thank you.
And you captured that, Matt, in your notes? Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes with the correction of the spelling of 3 different names, including names of the ball fields, with a second by Matt.
Oh, second, but matter.
Matty did. Yeah, any other further discussion? If none, all in favor?
yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstain? We have it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-0. Yay, we've been having these minutes forever. Okay,
We're still waiting to hear from Kyle. He's trying to
okay,
get somewhere.
that's okay. So the August 13th minutes, were you guys able to take a look at those online for approval tonight?
Is there a hard copy of that one too?
Yeah, my changes are on there too.
Okay.
So, I'll start while she's looking at them. There was a motion made to approve minutes, but in the motion, it wasn't either it wasn't typed up or we didn't state it, that they were the minutes for the July 16th meeting.
Okay.
So in the motion, in those minutes, to approve the minutes, we need to clarify that they are the July 16th meeting minutes. I also believe at the end of the, although I think I have another note in there. Pam, do I have another on page 1,
Water testing,
beside the, saying July 16th?
so July 16th is in the review minutes paragraph, and below that you've underlined motion made by Mr. Baylor to accept the June 2024 minutes to correct the attendance.
I only underlined that because that was the proof that the final should be.
And then the other note on the second page is for Chase Park, you had water testing next year.
So, also, when she typed up the minutes, we talked about the fact that we haven't been doing water testing and that the state no longer provides that service. But I think we all agreed that next year we'd do at least one test a year. And so I think that should be reflected in that section, that the commission members agreed that we would do, we'd create a policy to do one testing a year, so if we could add that. And then I believe at the bottom of the minutes, there's 2 blank spots, and Matt, this may be something you might have to go back and look at, but when we went into non-public, I
Yeah.
think we have to have the time in there.
I can correct that.
And then I think we have to have the time, or who made the motion to come out. So that, she just left it blank, that needs to be added. But if we can send those corrections to her. Were there any other? Pam, did you see anything? Yeah. And did you have anything else, Matt?
No, I mean, I can correct this stuff and then,
Yeah, so if you could just send, and when you send your notes up, if you could send those corrections. But again, it was the review of minutes, it was the review of the July 16th minutes. The section titled Chase Park needs to include that the commission members agreed that one water test would be done in the summer of 2025. And then we just need to provide her with the time at which we went into non-public session and who made the motion to come out. So with those changes, if anybody would like to move those minutes.
the only thing I see is that I'm trying to figure out if she's saying June 2024 or June, don't know the date, 2024.
So if I went back and looked,
Yeah,
I went back and looked at what we talked about. The minutes, I thought the minutes that your name was spelt incorrectly so many times
Yeah.
were the July 16th minutes,
okay,
not the June,
okay. All right,
not the June 11th meeting. So
I'll dig back.
Yeah, we
I'll
just
dig
need
back.
to clarify what minutes were reviewed
Clarify line 20.
and that what was reviewed in the motion, the 2 months should match up.
Yeah, I should have that.
Okay.
So I will go
All
through,
right.
clarify line 20 and 28.
And I might be wrong, but I thought it was the July minutes where your name was spelled right, but maybe it's
They
the
haven't
June.
been spelled right.
Okay,
since.
and maybe it was both. All
So
right,
it's all.
so if we could have a motion to approve those, that would get us through the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes pending
And state that,
the minutes for 13 August 2024, pending corrections as noted.
I'll second that motion.
any further discussion on those minutes? If not, all in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody opposed, abstained? The ayes have it, and it passed 5-0. So just for a reminder, then, hopefully for the November meeting, the September minutes will be posted on the website along with hopefully the October. And that would give us, that would catch us up. I'd like to stay as current as we could. Did you want, were you gonna email the walkthrough minutes, or were you just gonna?
I have a copy for everybody here. So
Okay.
there's just a hard copy.
All right.
We don't have to go over it tonight.
Okay,
If you don't want to, that's fine.
so why don't, will you just pass those out and we'll
Yeah, I
add them
think
to
everybody
next?
should have one now.
Okay, I don't think I got one.
Okay.
And we'll add those to,
Yeah, next month.
the November meeting,
Yep.
if everybody could take a look at those. That was catching up on one that was missing when we did a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. The bylaws, so at the last meeting, Matt passed those out with all the final revisions. And, I think we agreed we were just gonna, confirm that we all agree with what's in there and, make a motion to pass those. Were there any changes at the last meeting, do you remember?
I went through all my notes. I didn't see anything specific.
I don't remember any.
So the only thing that, can we go look at where it says membership and terms in office?
Yep.
I just have a note here.
Yep.
That maybe it should be spelled out. It says regular members. A full commission shall consist of 7 regular members appointed by the Board of Selectmen for 3-year terms. I believe it is 6 members and the ex officio, making 7 voting members.
That could be correct.
That's what we said.
Because with you, James, here as ex officio, if we had 7 plus you, then we're at 8. And I think we were gonna stay at
Yes.
7.
Yes. Plus, that's right, because we talked about it not using ex officio anymore, but
Right.
Board of Selectmen rep.
Right.
Which is that,
Well, we went to the board based on, if you remember, we made a motion here, and I took it to the Board of Selectmen, that we would have 6 regular members, 2 each on rotating terms, 1 ex officio voting member, so a total of 7 voting members, and the director would be a member of the commission as a advisory position. And I'm just wondering if that should be spelled out,
sure.
so that we would just have it clear, if anybody a year from now was looking at it.
So what I can do is I can throw that right in between those 2 sentences
Yeah.
there. Let me just make sure to scratch that. But yeah, I will correct that within the first sentence and the second sentence of 3A. That's too easy.
Yeah, and I think when I looked at what you passed out last week, that was the only change. And I would entertain a motion to approve these with that change if there's nothing else that anybody wanted to have changed. Because then we could present them to the board. I think they have to be presented to the Board of Selectmen.
Not for approval,
Okay.
I think, but just
Just
so that,
FYI.
yeah, so that everybody
Okay.
has a copy of it.
Okay.
I don't think the board has
Okay.
to approve them.
So are we gonna seal the deal on this tonight?
I'd like to. So are there any other comments or changes? If not, does anybody want to move for approval, make a motion to approve with those changes? Looking at this side of the table because somebody here has to do it.
I will make a motion to approve the bylaws with the stated correction for the membership and terms, so that it can be submitted for review to the Board of Selectmen.
And do I have a second on that?
I thought we just said it didn't have to be submitted. Oh,
Well,
just for
I
review,
don't-
not for,
I don't
Okay.
think they have to approve them. I
Okay.
think it's up to the committee,
Okay.
individual commissions, committees to
we
do
want to
their
give
own.
it to them to review. Okay, I will second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Pam to move the bylaws forward with the stated changes that we just discussed under membership, seconded by Shelby. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or abstain? The ayes have it, 5-0. We now have bylaws. If you, if you would, once you get those cleaned up,
Yep.
if you wanted to send those to Naomi along with your minute notes for publication on our website, that would be great,
Yep.
because then we could get that one done. Okay, great. I know, huh? Moving on, did folks get to look at the director job description and come with any thoughts or suggestions on that?
I did not.
Do you guys have copies?
I have some hard copies with me.
So, could we just go through, I had some suggestions maybe as we go through those, the other folks. Does anybody, do we need more copies? Because I could run this through the copy machine.
Hold on.
I think there's still paper left
I
in
think I
there.
printed like 5,000.
That sent out, my
Was-
email filter is not working as well as it should be.
Do you have an extra copy? You and I could share one. Do you still have
I
one?
mean, we can just look on it.
I don't think Shelby has one.
She doesn't need one.
Can you run just,
Yeah.
like, do run that through the copy machine? 2 copies, please.
You want 2 copies?
Yeah, just then,
The one thing I did not bring all the extra copies of.
so, all right, so while she's doing that, I'm gonna jump ahead to a couple of things, if you don't mind, just to keep us moving. And we'll come back to the job description. The next on here is the ARPA funds. So I wanted to give an update, and I also want, there's a couple things that I need folks to know. So, we did cut a check for the picnic tables, 4 picnic tables in that natural-looking wood with the brown frame. The poly tables, they will keep them for the winter, and they will deliver them in the spring.
Oh.
So that worked out well. The one thing that was not covered, we didn't have enough money under the ARPA funds, for them to deliver all 4 tables put together and ready to go. It's a delivery fee of $180. So we'll need to vote to, otherwise we gotta go pick them up, thank you.
Where are they?
They are in, you had to ask me that, didn't you? They are in New Hampton. One for Shelby, one for you.
I thought we had already voted to approve.
We voted to approve the
Delivery
tables,
costs.
but we didn't, there was no delivery fee included in those.
With shipping up to $400 from the ops budget.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. All right,
That was
shipping
my recollection.
for the tables?
Yep.
Yep,
I
we
would,
voted
Yep.
on that
At
already.
8:22, we voted to purchase 4 tables.
That's okay. What's the, did you have the number for the ops? I can look it up.
yeah, I
No,
don't have the number
Okay,
for the
out of the ops budget, okay.
Yep.
So what I'll do is, I'll probably wait, we don't have to pay this till the spring, but we could pay it now. What I'll probably do is wait early December, see what the budget looks like. And if we have money there, we will pay that. But the tables themselves, the check has been cut.
I personally would think we should pay for it now. We
It locks
already,
in the
we
price.
it locks everything in,
Yeah.
and we've already budgeted the money out of ops.
Right, if I can interject to at the last selectmen's meeting, there was an issue with the ARPA funds. The police, the radio tower one was coming in significantly over what was originally estimated. And so we're going back and having to readjust where different ARPA funds are going to. So just be aware that the tables may end up coming out of your revolving fund. I don't have a specific.
Well, we already cut the check.
Understood.
Oh, okay,
They may take the money back.
oh,
You know, but that was cut from the,
Not-
it was cut from the from
ARPA
the- fr-
funds.
So we'll just have to be aware of that. And, so I don't have an answer, but I just wanted to bring it up.
Okay, so
because-
I would ask you to plead our case. I mean,
Yeah, we didn't have one yesterday,
yeah, it's just that I think we made some decisions because they offered up those funds. Not that we can't take it out of there, but,
And I may be jumping the gun on that because
Speaker, we're writing the notes on it.
because we had, 'cause we were having to go back to the fire department and everybody and,
Right.
and take a look at things again. So, I know the police, they had a lot of different projects too that were getting wiped out and everything was going towards
Okay.
the radio. So,
so,
let me double check on
Yep.
that, but I just, be aware that might be happening. But
Thank
if you
you for-
haven't, if we haven't received something official from the selectmen to Park about the ARPA funds, it may not,
okay.
I may be jumping the gun on that.
That's all right. We were thrilled that we got something for a change,
Yeah.
so.
Kyle, are you,
Yeah.
are you hearing us all good?
Yeah, I'm clear. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool.
So let me just tell you, Mike, why I was on, so the $180 for shipping, the only reason I didn't want to vote tonight is I want to go through the budget later. I mean, we have some significant bills that we've paid this year, things that have happened. We've got a couple more months left, and it's getting tight. So I'm always hesitant if we don't have to vote on it tonight. I've been talking with the woman from Country Cottage. I see no issues with the price changing if we waited till December.
Okay.
Or maybe we could act on it next month, but I'd like to see all of the salaries for the lake come through. We did some work with the septic, we'll talk about some of those things, but I'm just getting nervous.
Yep.
That we don't spend and then run out and then we have
Yep.
nothing. So I'd like to defer this till at least next month and maybe the next month.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
All right, so that's the first one on the ARPA funds. We'll finish the ARPA funds and then we'll come back to the director. The bark mulch, again, a PO was cut. A purchase order was created to purchase the 2 loads. Now I just need you to coordinate a delivery date with them. I think we discussed in November when football was done, so we may just have to check with them, but, so I think the ball is in your court now as far as getting
Yep.
that done, but they should already have the PO.
Okay. Yeah, as soon as I have a date for the end of football, I'll set that up. One thing I wanted to make sure we did is, once that mulch gets delivered, we lock those gates.
Yep, that's fine.
Because that's gonna disappear overnight.
We're gonna talk in a minute, we're gonna talk later in the meeting about when to start locking the gates. What we kinda need is a date for delivery and a date for when we're gonna start
That's the
spreading,
second
because
part.
then we need to put something on probably our webpage and Facebook to ask for volunteers. I have had one John Stark student reach out this week asking for an opportunity to volunteer. I mentioned we'd be doing this in November and that they could pass that along to some of their other friends, but we're gonna need some equipment to move it and stuff, so getting a date is the first step, and then we can plan on when we wanna spread it.
Have we spoken to, DPW, see if they can offer assistance yet?
I have not gone that far, no.
Okay, do you want me to handle
If
that?
you'd like to, that'd be great. Jason's been really good.
Alright.
So, and that's the other thing is that, and I know this money could come out of our revolving account. We have enough to cover all these things. But I don't know that we would have approved all of these things, only because we have some other things coming up. So I just put that out there. So the third funding we got was for the ties for the sandbox that we weren't gonna do this year, but we were told to go ahead and do it.
Did you pay for them already?
No, we have not, and I'll tell you why. So, Utilplay, I never say that right.
Utiliplay.
Utiliplay came back with a quote. They gave us the same quote that they had given us before. They just took out the delivery, the sand charge. So the ties themselves were $2,400, which is what we got approval for 26, I think. But shipping was $450. So I got to thinking that, I don't know, I told Beth not to put the order in. I wanted to bring it back here. So I started to do some research with a few other companies. So I just went online and started looking at like Discount Playground, Premier Park and Play, and I think there was one more, Willie Goat, just to see what the costs were gonna be. Now, the first company had quoted us 32 border ties, and I went down and counted them, and we don't need quite 32. I wrote it down someplace, and I'm not quite sure if I have my notes, but we need less than 32. But to stay apples for apples, I asked everybody, I put in the prices for 32 ties. So I actually,
Are the ties all the same size?
so they're either 4 feet long or 6 feet long,
Okay.
6 inches tall or 12, and we have the 12s. So I actually, when I put the pricing in based on 4 feet, because that's what the other one was, and 12 inches tall, each coming with spikes, the quotes came in around a little over $1,000, $1,300, which was way less.
Was Ultiplay going to install?
No, that, I don't believe that includes installation. It's just
That was just
shipping,
components?
yep, ship and buy and deliver. So I talked to Premier Park and Play, they're out of Newton, Mass. So they were another one that came up, and I was looking for somebody local. So I spoke to the woman there. She quoted us for 12-inch playground borders with the spikes, quantity 32. Now, these are 4 feet long, we have 6 feet long ones, but this would cover what we have. She quoted us those at $1,000, so a lot less than the 2,400. Her shipping, the shipping cost was $495, which I said to her, you are higher than the other company, so they took $100. I didn't tell her by what, but I said, you were just a little bit higher. So she went to her manager, and they took $100 off shipping, so it would be $395 to ship them. In that it was going to be under what we were approved through the funds, she asked me if we had any interest in including a ramp for handicap. And I noticed in a lot of these pictures, they show a small plastic ramp. So she quoted, I asked her to just quote one. So you take out one set of ties and you put the ramp in. It was $481. So even with all of that included, if we did that, the shipping and the ramp, we still come in at the funds that we were given, but less than Utilplay, and we get a ramp. We get a handicap ramp. Yes.
Now that there's a potential ARPA fund issue, when do ARPA funds need to be
End of November.
used? By end of November,
They
out the
need to
door,
be allotted.
by
but
the
not
end.
spent?
We have to either at least cut a PO.
We have to have a PO.
Yep,
Yes.
by the end of November.
So my feeling with a concern of ARPA funds issue, and we're finding that we can get this stuff cheaper,
Yep.
I almost want to say, park the sandbox thing until the spring. We have to tear out the old sandbox to bring all the machinery in to move mulch.
Yep.
Because it's just gonna get destroyed anyway. I think I'd rather find a way to spend $1,500. I don't know. I'm
Well,
worried about the ARPA funds becoming an issue.
so
and
we
then-
don't, wouldn't, James, do you think you'd know?
By Monday.
All right, so
Next meeting.
we don't have to, if you came back and said we need to take back $2,000, we would scrap this. If they say we don't need to take back anything, you have the funds,
Encumber them.
yeah, by the end of November. What I'm saying is, could we look at maybe a different company than what we had originally talked about? Because I think we can get the same coverage, add a little ramp, and the delivery would be less than what we've seen in the other ones. And I can pass these around, but I just did screenshots of what I had pulled up. Like I said, there was Discount Playground Outfitters, and Willie Goat, along with Premier Park and Play, and then the original one we had.
So we can, I don't wanna sit on this all night, so I'm trying to figure out a way to.
Pending.
Can I
ARPA
just
funds.
add something? Sorry, I agree with Matt. I think we should wait on this, and I think that there might be other grants, because especially if you're talking about anything that helps the playground to be more accessible, then we might be able to find
But
money
I guess
elsewhere.
the reason I'm hesitant to do that is, we were given,
If the
Unless they-
ARPA funds are there and not
Why-
taken back, then
Because
we should
there's
be
so many
spending
other-
We
them.
can have them.
right,
Yeah.
if the ARPA funds, if they come back and say, we need to take the $2,600 back, then I agree.
Okay.
We defer it to next year. But if they say those ARPA funds are still available for you, this just gives us more room to do more next year, because we have a list this long
Yep,
of things that we need to
And
do.
that's where I was coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as if we
So-
get the funds, it's one thing.
So,
All I want to do, and we still can come back in November, because it's the end of November. I
you need
just
PO by end of
wanted,
November? Or middle November?
I believe she said end of November,
You don't know?
is what Beth
I-
told me. Beth told me the end of November.
Let's go by Beth, because she's smarter than I am.
So bear with me, I have a thought going. And
What I'm asking the commission is, are you open to going with a different company?
yes, absolutely. If we
Yes.
get more for less.
To go with
Yes.
the Premier Park and Play, they're out of Massachusetts, would be easy to access them.
Really,
Okay.
we should put the list
And
of
I
things.
really like the idea of having
I thought
something
that
that's
would be a good
accessible.
idea to have a little access ramp.
Absolutely.
would we all be in agreement for going with that specific vendor? Changing to Premier with the handicap?
Well, you've basically got 3 quotes, right? So,
Yeah,
I
that's
have
true.
4.
So,
I have 4.
so we would just be picking one of our quotes. So
Right,
that's all we
yes,
have to do
correct.
is amend, saying that we're not going with Ultiplay like we initially
Right,
voted.
correct.
We're opening it up to a bid competition, and we'll go pending confirmation of our funds.
Yes.
I'm not even sure we voted to go with them, because I needed to get a clean quote. I believe when I came to the last meeting, they had not given me a clean quote with the sand removed. So we weren't sure what the shipping was gonna be. That's why I thought we said we would,
I'm just double checking.
yeah,
where
or
I-
maybe we did approve
No,
it.
I did, yeah.
Okay,
Yep, 2,400 for timbers from Ultiplay, funds from ARPA, shipping from OPS.
okay,
So,
so what I would be asking is that we keep the amount, but we just change the vendor now that we've gotten a solid requote, an updated quote. The quote we had was a year old. They honored it, but it turns out we can get far more for less
yeah.
if we were to go with Premier Park and Play, and we could add to that, a handicapped ramp, and still, I think, come in under the funds that we were granted.
for
And we're coming in under the funds, including shipping?
Yeah, so it's $1,000 for 32 4-foot. We currently have, I wish I could remember, I want to say there were 20 6-foot ones. If you calculate it out, I think we need about 34-foot ones, I think is what I calculated. We'd probably stay with 32 just to have a couple spare. So that's $1,000. The ramp is $481.25. And the shipping will be $395. Therefore, bringing us in under what we thought we would have to.
Pending confirmation of ARPA funds, we've chosen to go with,
Premier Park and Play out of
Vacation.
Newton, Mass.
decide,
Denise, just to clarify, the ARPA funds, we just need to have the PO cut by a certain date, correct? We do not need to worry about when delivery date is with it?
Correct, we need to have them, the PO cut by the end of November. In the case of Country Cottage, they were willing to sit on the product through the winter. I have not asked Premier Park and Play, however, we could have them delivered and put in one of our sheds.
I think we discussed that, yeah, we would put in the shed or the
Yeah.
bathroom at
Yeah.
Chase or something if need be. We had a location if need be.
So, are you gonna do a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to amend the vote we had for ARPA funds on Sandbox Timbers. Pending confirmation of ARPA funds following the next Board of Selectmen meeting, the commission has decided to purchase from Premier Park and Play if the funds are still available.
Are you gonna put the dollar amount, or are you just amending the other?
Amending the other one.
Or is it just say up to the?
Up to
Yeah, up
24.
to $2,400 previously allotted.
Yep, okay. Do I have a second on that?
I will second that.
Any further discussion? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, now that we have Kyle on the phone, he can't vote from the phone.
That's
No.
your,
Okay,
he's not
yep.
supposed, yeah.
If no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? The ayes have it, 5-0. So we will wait to hear, James, if you could let me
Yep.
know, then we will know how to move forward with that. All right.
Thank
so
you
let's
for giving me the time to.
Yeah, no problem. So let's go back to the director's job description.
Okay.
So if you all have it in front of you, I'll just, and I think a couple of you probably now have my notes because you got copies of my copy, but when I looked at this, if you go down to the bullet points under general responsibility, 1, 2, 3, the fifth bullet point down where it says be the first point of contact for phone calls to Parks and Recreation Commission. I put in a question mark to discuss emails. So I don't know how the rest of you feel. We're now on a town email box. I feel like if I'm not checking it every day, this woman with the, wanting to do would have sat there. There was another one I didn't get to this week because, as you all know, I was tied up. And they wanted to use one of Bolton Field for an event real quickly. And by the time I got to it, so I'd like to see the director have some responsibility for checking emails, at least at a minimum on a weekly basis.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. I think it's a shared responsibility.
I do
probably
too.
Between chair and, or the elected officials of park and the director, if you want to open it that much,
I
you
think
know.
sometimes too, there are some emails that can be answered by one person.
Yes.
Sometimes there's discussions that have to be made, but that makes sense, a weekly basis.
So I'd like to include in that bullet,
Emails.
phone calls and emails, or monitoring the email box on a weekly
Yeah,
basis.
we don't really have a phone call.
Did you have a,
My question was, where are we getting phone calls?
Yeah, well, so phone calls come directly to me, so I do handle those when they come in. and oftentimes it's text messages, so,
But
We
that's
don't
not the
have-
general public, that's people that know you as the director of park,
That's-
correct?
yes, so that would be WAC, any of the vendors, any of our, staff, that type of thing. But
So,
not the general public, no.
question I have that opens up a broader question maybe. Is there an expectation that there is a mechanism to contact the director by phone? Because to do such by email, in all fairness, unless you check your email every day, so
Yeah.
if there's a issue, let's say at Chase Park, and the only means to communicate is by email, so would that be an expectation of the director to,
To be accessible by phone, yeah.
and that would mean using their private,
Or,
Coming in and calling from here.
yeah, I was gonna say, call, come to the town, and then town contact the director as needed.
And that has
As a
happened
filter.
before. That has happened before.
Pam saying
Pam
no.
saying no.
There is no one in this building that can field park phone calls
Okay.
efficiently and get them where they need to go and get the answers that you need.
Yeah.
So I could do a little investigation on this, but we do have a mailbox, because that's how what we use for the tennis court to get the lock. And you can leave a voicemail, we say not to, because it's not monitored, but we could.
The voicemail.
We could
notification
turn that
every
into
day.
a voicemail box that would be, the way the voicemail is set up, it bounces, I don't know about you guys, but it comes to our,
Yeah.
yeah,
It comes to the park.
Yeah.
right. So that would be a way of at least, maybe, I don't know.
I have gotten I know that it's not okay for people to be calling because you can't answer. And I think that Pam's gotten trapped in a situation where people call looking for help and expect her to answer, but really that's not her
Right.
job while she's here.
Right.
Kristen?
Come up to the
Just
mic.
if you would come to the,
Sorry, raised hand.
before you leave, would you take those? I thought they were spares. I apologize if I was supposed to have gotten them.
It's fine.
I thought you had two.
I have the other set, but
Okay.
it's the one time where I wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
We also seem to be connected with the Chase Park phone number to park on the website, so that during the summer hours where we're open, we field calls for the park department.
Okay.
And then based on what the call is related to, I know how to direct it. So sometimes that looks like I'm sending an email back to Naomi because it's not so much a park issue, but it's like somebody needed help with a road, a culvert, and a lot of words that were so not park related. So I was able to take that call and email out to Naomi. There's other times where it is something more park related, but what they wanted was they thought that we had a park department where you were running organized sports. So instead I hooked them up with the information for WAC, and so I field your calls during the summer.
Okay.
That's only my point.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yes.
You're welcome.
And that's not necessarily the right, that's not the right answer.
Well, but there should be something on the website that says, the town of Ware does not have a full-time Parks and Rec department.
Agreed.
That really needs to be stated.
It is
in
run by
big-
volunteers.
Yeah, it needs to be in big bold print. And maybe it even should be on the Facebook page, because there's a
So-
misconception that we have somebody sitting in here waiting for phone calls. all
So
the
I
time.
think we can clarify that and just make it clear that the first mean of communications is through email. This though does read somewhat broad, because first point of contact for phone calls, it may be that Naomi got the phone call, and she would know that they would
Yeah.
then go to the director. So even though they may not carry a phone call, but I would like to know that the director knows that they're responsible for at least monitoring the mailbox once a week. That would be a huge help,
makes
Okay.
because,
I think the gist of this, I'm sorry, go ahead, you were first.
I am always hesitant with emails if there are multiple people responsible for responding, how it gets communicated that there has been a response. So
So,
that's
So
my
you must have to
own.
respond to all.
so, I mean, so we're gonna digress a little bit here, but the mailbox has been a real challenge, and mail has been a real challenge. One, I will, like with this woman, you know, now she came from Naomi. But if somebody emails Parks, I try to answer back under Parks, so you all get it.
Okay.
But I frequently feel like, or even I will send out, hey, here's the draft agenda, let me know if you have any changes. I don't even get a, looks good to me. So I have no idea.
Here is why. I am confused
Yep,
by what I have been told, what is okay and not okay to do outside of the meeting.
so we can't even say
And
agenda
so-
looks good?
Well, if I can,
Yeah.
if I can answer the question I think you're asking.
Yes.
Yeah, it is highly recommended that we don't have any discussions going on through email. Now, I say that we shouldn't be afraid of that so much because they are available for FOIA requests. They are available for archiving, things like that. So we don't have to be afraid of not responding. At the same time, we don't want to have any back and forth discussion as if we we're
Right.
having a meeting outside of
Right.
the physical meeting. So I think, and if you want to look for a general thumb, it's like, received it, and.
Nothing to add.
Right.
Something.
Or something to the effect of, received it, I'll have updates for the meeting. Something like that. That way you're not saying, well, I think you need to change this, and just say, yep, we've received it. And say, yeah, I think there are gonna be some updates to it. We'll talk about it in the meeting. That way we're not having that
Right,
back and
and
forth.
when I send the agenda out, I'm more looking for, did I forget anything?
Okay.
Just say, I got
yeah,
I got a text message, this week to add something I forgot. That's what I'm looking for, is, here's what I think we need to talk about, but am I forgetting something? So I try very hard, at least every other day, to check the email. I don't know that we put that in the role of the chair,
It's
But-
not something we specified.
right, but.
Assumed.
Yeah. But the challenge is, if I'm gone for a week, there is,
Yes.
And I think you've gotten caught with this too, because I think that we all were responding more before.
Right.
And when the email was set up differently, we were responding, so. that's
So what I'd
that-
like, I think it could work well if, in the director role, that they become the primary monitoring of the email. And then, again, I don't have a problem as the chair, like I did with this woman, about the gazebo, inviting her to come to this meeting and share her thoughts with us.
Okay.
Okay, so
So if we could just add monitoring.
first, or let's just put,
You don't have, if
As
you.
the first point of contact for communication.
first
Is
point of
what I would
contact
say.
for Park and Rec Commission.
Yeah. And then, can we just back up to the very first bullet point? It says properly maintain facilities. That is not what the director or coordinator does. The director helps manage maintenance of facilities, but does not maintain facilities necessarily. I'm not saying that I haven't been in the bathroom with a plunger.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying that, that is not,
That would have been pulled off of one of the two.
yes.
So, we could put
They help
ensure
manage-
proper maintenance of facilities.
Manage
Helps
maintenance.
manage the maintenance really, because we can't always ensure that, but it's, you're helping to manage scheduling, that kind of thing.
So properly manage maintenance of facilities, grounds, equipment, and personnel.
Yeah, I would say just manage. Or properly manages maintenance or something, manages something.
I think we're
Does
assuming
that make
they
sense?
need- they
Yeah,
assume-
you're the one
we
who
assume they
words-
need to be
you're the
properly
good
managed.
wordsmith
Yeah.
here, I can't.
So manage.
Manages facilities, grounds, and equipment. How about, yeah, manages facilities, grounds, equipment, I'll scratch properly maintain. And just put manages facilities, grounds, equipment, and personnel at a level that is consistent with the budget.
Okay.
Okay, done.
And
All
then,
right.
can we move to the next, the one where it says assist Parks and Rec Commission in recommending new hires? I really think it should say assist Park and Rec
Well,
Commission.
ho.
Oh, sorry, it was after the email, that's why I thought we were next.
Well, I guess we're gonna back up.
Oh, okay.
Anybody have anything on bullet number 2? Everybody good with bullet 2? Everybody good with bullet 3? Everybody good with bullet 4? You all set, Matt, on bullet 5?
Yeah, I'll just put,
Okay,
first point of contact for Park and Rec.
okay. We'll be seeing these again before we vote on them, so we'll have a chance to look at them.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead on bullet, the next bullet.
So where it says recommending new hires, I would say that it's in making recommendations for staffing. Cause it's not necessarily recommending, or it could be recommending, not recommending, it's just me being picky, but,
I think this whole bullet should be struck.
you think so?
Well,
Because we do it as a team?
Well, the only new hires we ever have is Chase Park.
That's what I
And
wrote.
we
staffing.
have, we're addressing that under Chase Park, that the director has a role there. Otherwise, we have no hires. That was my comment, what hires are they helping us with?
That works for me.
So I would suggest we strike that whole bullet.
Okay. Okay.
And then the next bullet is similar to that, supervise personnel related to programs,
Again, that was pulled off of,
which is fine, but I think there were maybe a day when we had more programs, I don't know, but we don't have any personnel other than Chase Park, and that's gonna come under the Chase Park
Yeah,
one,
Yep.
so.
because the programs are run by volunteers,
Yeah.
so.
okay.
The next bullet related to maintaining relationships with all, different groups in town.
That looks good.
Okay, moving to the next one, organized schedule, . I had just circled summer concert series, maybe should be struck since we don't have
Yeah,
a
we don't
summer
do
Yeah.
concert season.
Yep,
And then maybe add at the end, in other activities as deemed appropriate by the commission.
Yeah.
okay.
I'd love to see us have a concert series like Henniker does, but
We used to bring people in a little bit. We did a few, that was a long time ago.
Okay.
Expensive.
I remember it.
Yeah.
So we're good on page 1?
all right, then, go to page 2, first bullet. Attend all Parks and Recreation Commission meetings. I thought we should expand that just to say and provide monthly updates regarding Park and Rec, business.
Okay.
I'm always hesitant when something says all, because there are circumstances under which,
There is a requirement.
That's understood.
Okay.
But there is a requirement. My understanding was that there's a requirement that.
What if we said
that We
monthly?
attend.
What if we said monthly? They have, obviously, they might be sick or,
yeah.
Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah, I mean, it's like saying that you will come to work every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, minus,
Yeah.
so that's all it meant, it's not like they can pick and choose, like, you know what? November, December, I don't feel like coming to park
Yeah,
meetings.
but it
That's-
could happen that, somebody's sick once.
Of course, exactly,
something
and
comes
that's,
up, and it has before.
you know, so,
We usually move the
But
meetings
that's-
around that.
I think that's kind of,
standard expected.
well, I don't have it memorized, but I'm pretty sure there are things like that in our town hiring policies,
Yeah.
personnel policies.
okay. Next one, make recommendations to the park. Any changes on that regarding items to be included in the budget?
I'm good.
Enforce policies, procedures, ordinances, blah, blah, blah. Could we have, not only enforce, but make recommendation for changes too?
I think it's really hard to enforce some of the things, like, we have ordinances where I've asked, you know, recently even for some help from other town agencies. And I have no right to enforce anything. I can go ask people to please leave the park when they've already been told the park is closed. But without backup from the police department, I really,
I agree, I think we should change enforce to support.
Or maybe
Support
even
policies,
ensure,
or communicate with the police department, cause I can only do what, you know.
or maybe what we're asking here is that they ensure that they're all up to date in,
Communicate with to try to have policies enforced.
Well, part of your enforcing would be to call the police,
Yeah.
during, if somebody is,
Well,
I'm hearing what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not,
it's
I'm
just,
hearing what you're
just, I think it
saying.
I think that it's unfair to say enforce because it's, am I?
what
Well, as a
does that
town-
mean?
as a-
Understand what I mean.
Ensure
It's
that
really
they're
hard
adhered
to
to.
enforce.
as a town employee, you'd be enforcing
I can hold, yeah, I can,
for park policies, is
Yeah.
what this is saying. Nobody's asking the director to be the police force at Chase Park, but the director would be enforcing park policies,
Yes.
park procedures, park ordinances, and any laws affecting
yes.
park and
letting-
rec.
Or we could
So
use-
that's what the enforce was.
Yeah.
Or we
That
could
makes
say
sense.
ensure that they are adhered to instead of using the word enforce.
Like, it's the same thing, just drawn out.
All right,
Yeah. I hear, yeah.
All right.
That makes sense.
I mean, I do, I 100% hear what you're saying, yeah, the director's not expected to be Chase Police Park. or
Is
Chase Park Police,
support, more,
Do your best to enforce policies is what it should be.
encourage the
Encourage-
public to adhere to park policies.
Ask for help and hope it
Could also be working in partnership with
Yeah.
local authorities.
Yeah, you know, we can put it at the end, working in
Yes,
partnership
I
with
like that.
local authorities.
Yeah.
Thank you, that definitely opens that up.
I just know that, like, you know, for instance, the
nope,
neighbors.
yeah, yeah, we gotta keep this moving.
Yeah,
All right, next bullet, have the authority to spend necessary funds. I think we put up to $100. I mean, I think there are times when you gotta run down and get wasp spray or things like that, so I have no problem with a $100 cap.
okay.
The next one, update the town administrator on a monthly basis. Again, I think this position reports directly to them. We have oversight, but they're directly reporting,
Yeah.
so,
That was my understanding
Yeah.
of the position.
yep. Any changes to that bullet? All right, let's move on to
I
Chase.
have one
Oh,
question about that.
okay.
Does it need to be a monthly report, or can it be expanded to say when we have a lot going on, like in the summertime, when we have Chase Park going on, and maybe as things arise on the other seasons?
It's
Well, it says
noted
at
as
a
at a
minimum.
minimum.
Okay.
yeah.
That's why I put that, yeah, that's exactly why I have put that in there.
All right, Chase Park. I had a couple things, but does anybody have anything?
I don't know,
So there, one of the things that I have, and it might not belong in the job description, and there may need to be an attached sheet to the job description identifying some of the duties and responsibilities more specifically. But in paragraph 2 regarding the hiring process for Chase Park, I would expect that the director, I just didn't know if we needed to be a little bit more detailed or specific, but I would expect that the director would be responsible for getting the postings up when it's time, organizing and reviewing the applications, scheduling the applicants to come before us, possibly even screening in terms of those that might not even be qualified at all. is that something that should be in the job description, or do we have a tasked duties?
I think that should be like a task, a list of duties under the hiring, because that's what she does already.
Yeah,
Is she does the posting, she makes sure we get the application, she screens, she does the phone interviews ahead of time. She schedules them to come in, and then when we present to the Board of Selectmen, she works with Naomi to get them scheduled.
and so where do you think that should be? In here or on an attached sheet?
I think it should be under an attached sheet.
Okay.
That just discusses
Okay.
the hiring process and what
Some,
the role is for the director and for the commission.
maybe some more specific duties.
Yep.
For example, we didn't talk about that on the bullet points, but like checking the mailbox, we talked about mail as in
Yeah.
email, but the mailbox here, weekly, processing bills, blah, 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 that maybe should have a little more detailed sheet of, if we get a new hire, we're gonna have to give somebody a little more guidance as to what they need to do. Okay, we could put it there then. And would we want, also written in that paragraph, it says the director has the authority to reprimand, suspend, and/or reschedule employees if they're not following job requirements. Is the director the person who would suspend an employee, or would that be brought to the commission?
So, that was something I had underlined, so in the past, that has been with Kristen, something that Kristen and I have, worked out together. And I have multiple times contacted Naomi with, hey, how do we do this or how do we do that? But one of the things that really needs to be made clear is there's a written warning, and it, even if we just have a form that says you are getting a written warning for this or this, or we had a verbal warning and we're just not writing down that there's a verbal warning, there needs to be some sort of
There already,
track.
there already is,
Yes,
because
there
I
is.
think,
Yeah. We did.
I know we got it this year from Naomi, because we thought we were gonna have to use it. So she sent us the town
Yeah.
HR policy around that and how it has to be written up and
Yep.
executed.
Yeah.
But again, are we comfortable as a commission if it's the director and the supervisor? Or at what point do we want the chair, vice chair, somebody, or the whole commission to be involved with anything that is related to suspending and/or terminating?
I think that that's something that the director has to be comfortable with, so, we've descheduled people, correct me if I'm wrong, before, and, that is something that I've always discussed with Naomi and with the commission if it comes about.
I like the process that we have now. It just grew organically, but the supervisor contacts the director, they discuss, they notify the board. We can provide our feedback, but they're the ones that are taking care of it.
I
And
think-
I am okay with that
Yeah.
being,
It should stay within as much of town employees in that department before it comes back to the volunteer commission, because we do have to follow the town's HR laws.
So do we find out after they've been suspended, or are we notified that they are?
I think it has happened, this is the situation and this is the action that was taken.
Okay,
And so it is after the fact.
okay, all
I
right.
think that we, again, as Matt said, we are volunteers. It should be the employees, and if it is something that is really egregious, then it goes to the town administrator.
Okay, all right,
And then at that point,
all right, then I'm good with that staying.
Okay.
Anything else related to the Chase Park? All right, ball fields, tennis court, skateboard. The only comment I had there was, should we just specify how often they're doing these inspections?
I think that comes more under a detailed hire thing.
Oftentimes, I'm informed. Facebook informs me, or one of you informs me, or Kristen informs me, or I get a phone call, at 7:00 in the morning that something
So,
happened.
Let's get your input. What, being in the position, if we were to say every 2
Bi-monthly,
weeks,
every
once
2
a
weeks,
month,
Every 2 weeks.
every 2 weeks
If you haven't heard
inspects the,
anything, every 2 weeks, you should pop in. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
I can tell you, it seems like every time you drive to one of these parks,
There's-
there's something.
Yeah.
And if nobody is getting there, that something goes unnoticed. So I just think there should be some expectation.
Maybe, yeah, it's gotta be like,
We can do weekly
and
or
there's
bi-weekly.
things that happen
I
where I
think
don't
twice a
even
month
notice.
is
I mean,
fine, every
I-
other week or whatever.
yeah, like
Alright.
every couple weeks.
All right, so I will put, inspecting recreational facilities bi-weekly. Inspecting recreational facilities and equipment bi-weekly for needed maintenance and repairs.
And if somebody contacts you, says, hey, we noticed this,
Then
then,
it's.
Yeah.
Yep,
okay,
Go
easy
to-
enough.
going
Yep.
to it, yeah.
yep, and that comes back to
The
first point of
communication,
contact.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else on that paragraph? All right, page 3, the director will. There are 1, 2, 3 bullets there. Any changes on those 3 bullets?
So that's perfect where we can put that email and other thing right in there. We
Yeah,
can put-
I had added a 4th bullet,
mail.
check the mail and process bills on a weekly basis.
It's a loose area for us to throw things in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
Other duties as assigned.
yeah,
another, yeah, that's, the-
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So, any other bullets on that one that anybody wants to add at this point?
we can always go back and adjust this.
Okay.
When we, we come up upon something, this should be in here, we can modify it, resubmit it.
Yep. Was compensation in the last job description, did you pull that out of the old
So
one,
the
or did you add it?
2013,
Is compensation generally in a job description?
yes,
Can
yes.
be.
I mean, I did a bunch of research, a bunch of like job searches kind of thing. And in your typical listing for a job description, compensation is in there.
Okay,
So on the 2013 thing is where I pulled that stipend.
okay,
And it's, yeah, it was in the earlier one too. In the 2013, it was listed as $416.66 a month, and in the old one, it was listed at $5,000 a year. So, yeah, it was previously mentioned.
so, I think the question here becomes, and do we want to do it tonight, because we still have a whole lot of things to go through. But in the budgeting process, do we talk about the adjustment to this stipend, and then we just go back and fill it in?
So when it comes to updating the stipend on this,
Yep.
I don't think it's, I could be wrong, I don't think it's at this board level. You can make a recommendation to
Yep.
I
the,
think
to
we'd
the
have to make a
selectmen,
rec-
right?
Yeah, because it's a town employee.
Right, and that can go as a, that could be as a park recommended warrant article to increase that. And then that would be included in next year's budget and going on
So it would
forward.
have to go forward as a,
A warrant article,
Warrant
not
article?
a request to Board of Selectmen to have it.
Salary, it's a salary which
Okay.
has to go
Okay.
be voted on.
All right, so then why don't we accept, and then we will make that warrant article before the election?
I think, yeah, because I think if it's gonna have to go forward, I think we're gonna have some supporting data, because we're gonna get questions. What other towns do? What does this encompass? Approximately how many hours are we talking? And I don't wanna hold up the job description.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if we could just say that we will come back to the compensation piece. I think the fact that the yearly reviews will be done is fine, and that the job description will be reviewed annually.
Okay.
I think you had questions around, should there be a section on qualifications, experience, training, license, fingerprints, physical demands and work environments, and again, I think maybe working with Naomi, typically what I've seen in the companies I've worked with, it's a pretty standard attachment that says, at minimum, you have to be able to lift 50 pounds. You are required to get, fingerprints. I don't see where a license would be
Well,
needed.
fingerprints,
Would be
was removed, correct?
No, it was removed for the
for a committee,
volunteers,
for,
That's right,
for.
yeah.
but not for the
committee.
employees over 18.
And that would go as per town
Right,
policy.
policy.
Yeah, okay.
So what we could do is, and I'm happy to, because I'll be scooting down here, is to check with Naomi.
Okay.
Is there a standard on the back of every job description, something that addresses qualifications, experience, things like that?
Yeah, and I'll build that into it
Okay.
when we get more info, but
So-
I'm willing to try and move on as stands.
Right,
with
so
modification.
what I'd like to, I think what we need to do is that you make all these adjustments, send it out to the membership. If Naomi says, yeah, let me give you copies of what that is, we can send that out too, so we can come back in November
Mm-hmm.
and be prepared to, approve this one.
Okay.
Because we're gonna need something to, move forward with.
And in regard to compensation, just to
Yep.
back up to that a little bit, what is the typical weekly hours that the,
That's why I said, I think before we go forward, and I'd like to bring it back to November, we have to have that discussion.
yeah,
Because I don't even know, and I think the hours may be different in the summer, spring,
Right.
summer, than it is particularly in the winter.
oh, you don't think you'd put 100 hours in a week
So,
in January?
Honestly, it varies, so.
And I don't want to get into the
Yeah,
details
yeah.
tonight, please.
No, I'm not
Okay.
going
I
to.
think
It
we can't,
varies,
yeah.
is the
Yes, it
answer.
is something that needs to be
Yeah.
addressed as
And
part of
there's
it.
a changing law in January that like would prohibit
There might
this
be
little
something
of
that
a
applies,
salary,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
there are issues with, yeah.
Yes,
Well, that's why
so,
this is just a stipend, you know,
right,
Yeah.
Exactly.
right. So this will come back on the compensation
Yep.
/ potential warrant article will come back to the November meeting to have discussion for that. Just to keep things moving tonight,
Right.
if everybody's okay with that.
Okay. So I will make a motion to accept, no, not accept, to,
I don't think we need a motion
no?
tonight.
Okay.
No.
All right,
I think it has to come back
okay.
via email with all the corrections so we can
Okay.
read it. Make
Gotcha.
sure we're okay with it and make that motion
Yeah.
Yep.
next meeting. All right. Update on the pumpkin hunt. Where are we at with that?
Kyle, you still with us?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
Thank you, Matt, so much for, your help with this thing as well on,
Yep.
town this week. So, we found a couple viable options. It looks like it would come in right about $425 delivered to the town of Ware. To get 300, we could either do straight orange or multicolored ones. But
300.
that was, to
300.
the best of my knowledge, gonna run through town hall at some point this week and, get the either town card or get the bill paid on that one.
That was submitted to Naomi.
Did you buy them already?
No, I submitted the request to Naomi.
Oh,
We usually do like 125.
I think we decided on 300. I'm going back through the notes.
Yeah, from my notes, it was up to $1,000 for 300 of them, and I went with, or the thing I was showing to Matt were pails for the sake of stacking and storage.
yeah.
So, just for even the little bit of time, if we send all 300 out to the wilderness, at least we have a manageable way of transporting and moving them compared to the buckets. And then Matt and I were trying to find kind of a smaller option, but if you get below 7 inches for a Halloween basket, bucket, tote bag, the prices either jump up exponentially to have one slightly smaller, or they go up higher and it's kind of like a thimble, kind of a novelty item. So these things are,
Yeah, we felt this
I
was the
believe
best
it's
option.
7 inches across, 7 inches deep, basically.
Yeah,
So did we make a motion at the last meeting to spend up to a certain amount of money, or do we need to make a
no,
motion?
we did. We already,
The motion,
What-
sorry,
What was it, to spend how much?
it was up to $1,000 for
Okay.
300 buckets.
yeah,
Oh, okay. So,
We're well under budget by
Yep.
less than half.
so what did you ask Naomi for?
to make the purchase.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Who are you buying them through?
Oriental Trading,
Okay.
yep.
Will they
So,
be here on time?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought that the 1,000 also included candy.
We did not include candy in that.
Aren't the trunks,
Because-
the different trunks
I
gonna
thought
have
this
candy?
meeting was gonna be to get the candy.
Yeah.
To
and we
vote
could
for the
use any
candy,
of the
right.
slush funds for that.
Yeah,
I think our role is, like, it usually, we would hide them potentially on property, at the school property, because that's where it's being done. And the kids would use these buckets then to go to each of the trunks to get their candy.
That sounds good, because I'm sorry, we've never spent that much money on the hunt, even with the candy.
We've never done 300 pumpkins either.
No, we've only done like 100 and something, and then with the candy, I think at the most we've ever spent is maybe 600 total.
But I think we
Or
talked
that.
about it the last
I
meeting.
wasn't here at the
Yeah.
last meeting, so I.
Yeah,
forget-
so we talked about the fact that there are gonna be more people participating because we're
think this year.
joining
The PTO.
the
Because we're
bigger
joining the
event.
PTO versus what we would have
Oh,
done.
you, that,
wasn't
you wouldn't,
here,
that's
so-
the part you didn't get, yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
we're
don't-
doing it in conjunction with Trunk or Treat.
Okay, so how are we gonna hide the pumpkins if we're getting 300 of them and putting them on the school property where the kids are already gonna be?
We're gonna have to be here early, when everybody else is doing setup for
When is-
Trunk or
When
Treat.
is the trunk or treat? Saturday before.
Yeah, and I've already got the 26th marked off, so I'm happy to go hide kind of around the gazebo for, say, the younger kids. And I know there was some talk about using the
Playground.
nature
Yeah,
trail
the
that
playground,
is on some
potentially.
budding property to
Yep.
stack them out there as
Which
well as
school is
throughout
it
the
going to?
Middle school.
remaining bit of the property.
Yeah, I mean, the intention also with the bigger buckets was not only they get to be used, but they're visible for the little kids. And then you make some of them more difficult to find for the slightly older kids, it would be a mix. But yes, we would have to go out an hour or two early, get them stashed out. Kyle and I talked about having a couple of tables and a pop-up with candy. They can come up, they can, check in their pumpkin and get a little bit of candy from us and then go on there.
I think Pam at last month's meeting, we talked about the fact that we'd been in conflict with the PTO event, and it kind of drew away from the kids participating. And we talked about maybe doing it what we used to do on the same day, and that didn't seem like it was gonna work. So it just seemed like, well, what if we provided the buckets, and then the kids could go fill them up through that event, so that Parks and Rec is still involved with something, but we're partnering with the PTO to do that. That's kind of where we were.
We're gonna hide 300 pumpkins, pumpkin buckets at the middle school, the gazebo, wherever. And then how are the kids gonna know to go get them? Are they just gonna arrive and go find a bucket? Or is it gonna be like
I
a,
was gonna put it out, so my wife's the head of the PTO,
Yeah.
so we're working in conjunction with this.
Okay.
So she's putting it out in PTO information. They are totally it's gonna be shared, social media, basically stuff like that there's a pumpkin hunt, go collect your bucket, come get food, come get candy, we're not giving away food, and go do your trunk or treat. So yeah, that was the intent. So we're not having to put any money or budget into advertising ourselves. It's being kind of
okay.
tied up right with the trunk or treat. So we're doing it together.
So the way it stands right now, it sounds like you and Kyle have it pretty much under control. We don't need to vote on anything, correct? This is just FYI?
Yep, I just want to, because the vote specifically said for buckets, I want to get we can spend remaining balance on candy as appropriate.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I would just say, since there's going to be a lot of candy,
Yeah. Not gonna go crazy.
we don't need, if you've got $600 left, $600 of candy's a lot, I
Yeah.
don't know.
$600 of candy corn.
I'm just,
I mean, even without spending the remaining $600, if we put $100 of the candy, if we put just a little bit of something at the table, that way it sounds like we'll have a great little display in
Right.
addition to having
Yeah.
the ability to provide the pumpkin hunt, whatever you want to call it, for the town.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we kind of get
I-
cheap activation.
right. I think that's my point, is that we don't have, even though we approved 1,000 with
have to spend it
everything
all.
else that's
Yeah.
going on,
Yeah.
we don't have to.
Kristen?
So two things. I'm the coordinator of the event that Trunk or Treat and this pumpkin hunt are part of, because it's all part of the Ware Middle Schools or the SAU 24's Fall Festival, which raises money for the 8th graders who want to go to Washington DC from both Henniker Community and Ware Middle School. Our event starts at 2, so my concern would be if you're not there prior to 2, you're going to be showing everybody where you're going to be putting things out. That's number one. Number two, Oriental Trading is horrendously famous for saying that they'll ship something on time and it not arriving until after the event, and then they'll credit you for the cost of shipping, but that won't help you very much when you have 300 buckets that you're expecting. So that would just be my, as somebody who's run big events like this in the past, my recommendation to do it as soon as possible, because they'll tell you that it'll ship between the 17th and the 21st, and then turns out the 21st is come and gone, and now it's projected to arrive on the 31st of November, which isn't the real
That
date.
happens up to me all the time with Pat Speak when we order things through them.
So that was my only caution.
Every year.
And I've learned this because we buy their prizes for our games and stuff, and so we've actually moved away from them. So,
So you guys just keep an eye out. I will assume that you'll do
So I
that.
think that with some foresight, we can very well monitor whether or not it ships, and if it doesn't, Target has a almost identical bucket at slightly less price. It's just a little bit of juggling as far as the logistics.
It's a
with
lot
getting
harder to get 300
300
buckets from Target. It's a lot harder.
Yeah. All right, well, you know what? We'll trust that you guys
Yeah,
have the buckets under control.
one way or another, it will all
Okay.
be
All right.
good to go.
Do you, as far as the rest of the commission members, if they're available, if you just let us know, if we're available, let us know what time you want us there.
So if anybody can give time on 26th, to help, whether it be morning to help set out or to man the table for a little bit during, just let me know what your availability is. Just email me and,
So I'm in class all day online for that day, unfortunately, sorry.
but and we'll just work
All right,
something out.
So we'll email you. All right, is that it?
Yeah,
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that you're coordinating all this. It should be fun. So we did the gazebo, we discussed that in public comment. If you guys don't mind, could we jump ahead to Chase Park? Because I'm assuming you're here for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
could we jump ahead, just because I feel bad these guys are sitting. So a couple of things, so I said in the beginning, we'll add the benches to this, but I'll go down through the list. I believe I sent out an email, but if I didn't, I apologize, but Towns' septic did come up and videoed the pipes. The good news is everything looks good. What he said is the bathhouse, if you're looking at the building on the left, so you're standing there, the bathroom on the left, the pipes do something like, quite a bit of turning, and he believes that's probably why there's more plugs. The right-hand side is a straight shot, so there are 2 septic tanks, which you probably knew that, but I didn't. He sprayed 2 orange dots just so we could see where the pipes came out. He looked at both septic tanks, they looked good, they don't need to be pumped, and he could tell that they're flowing out really well. In the invoice that they sent, actually put a little reminder, he did the pumping the last time, so put a little reminder when they're due again. He walked around the leach field area, felt like everything looked like of no concerns, and really feels that the plugging that may be going on is just the way the pipes were put in and make a number of different turns.
We
So,
still have the map, right? We have the layout of the septic system in the gatehouse. Yeah,
so the
it's
good
there.
news is, it's in good shape, there should be nothing that we have to do to that. And I apologize, I thought those doors were locked. I thought they were a door that automatically locked. So, the doors didn't get locked, we had vandalism in one bathroom,
Of course.
of course.
the one,
The one time.
The one time, they don't get locked. So anyways, I apologize, my fault. And did you grab those keys? Don't forget to take those keys.
Let's be clear that it's the fault of the vandal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just,
Yeah, yeah. I
Thank
know,
you.
but I should have made sure those doors were locked, but I thought they automatically
They just
locked.
would have done something outside.
Yeah. Anyways.
probably people who complain about taxes and just, if you vandalize,
Yeah,
You're
and we
increasing our
did have
taxes.
we had an individual reach out to the town administrator about fishing in the park after hours. I think she didn't realize that we had no trespassing sign. She kind of said, okay, but anyways, the gentleman was very good about it. He called back and said, no trespassing sign. So Naomi reached out to me. I did talk to her, that most parks like this have a open time and a closed time. And there's reasons, and that's a perfect example of why we don't want people in there, because you can't trust them not to drag a picnic table or walk in the bathroom and make a mess of it, or whatever that may be. She was very comfortable with our rationale for that. I think it was just reminding everybody, a lot of people will say we're taxpayers, we should be able to go in there anytime we want, but we have thousands of dollars worth of equipment and facilities that we have to try to protect to the best of our ability.
People don't come in this building anytime they want
Yeah,
to do that.
so anyways, I had talked to, there's a couple things related to the sort of the ending of the year. So as a lot of the boats were coming out, and Kristen, if I say anything wrong or you want to add, just hop back up here. There were some boats that came out of the water this year that didn't have a tag on them because they didn't come in. Their friends let them put the boat in at their camp, but now they want to use our facility to take the boat out, and they've not paid a fee. And we may or may not have had policies related to that, but I think we have to clarify for next year. And I don't know that we necessarily have to do it tonight, because this would be a good item to talk about over the winter. But Kristen did give me an example of some, parking receipt tags that we had, where if we didn't find a tag on the boat before they could pull the boat out, they would have to pay the fee. And we would give them a receipt, and that would be a way to track it. But I do think that we should be, if they're gonna use the ramp, they should pay a fee that everybody else has to pay to
What does-
put it in or
What
out.
does the state say about this?
It's not their ramp.
It's not the state's.
It's not their ramp, but they ensure the access to public water, so,
Well, to put your boat in, it has to be inspected. You can't just put your boat in. So that's why there's a gate there. There's a gate to the park and there's a gate to the ramp.
And there's this is a common issue where, people don't wanna pay the fee, so they put it in somewhere else. And actually, there's somebody else on the lake who's making money off of this. And then they wanna take it out on our ramp, so it happens every year.
We're assuming that if they use our ramp to go in and out, they're paying the $50. right?
Correct.
So if they're only using our ramp to go out, they should pay half of that, $25.
At least.
I just wanted to make sure that we were
So-
gonna run afoul of
I don't
anything.
agree, because I think that encourages people to put in elsewhere and not be inspected, which is not the
So-
intent of the,
The boats don't get it, the only inspection they do is the milfoil boat, is the milfoil
right.
on the trailers.
And ensuring that the boats are registered.
So here's the
They should
thing,
pay
for
the
the sake
full.
of time, we don't have to decide tonight, because this is a great winter topic.
Yeah.
But I just wanted you to be thinking, you've all got great thoughts, and that will be something we'll come back to.
Okay.
But we need to make sure that for next year, we have it clearly laid out what we're gonna do.
Agree.
And then for the winter too, we'll start to talk about the tags for both the boats and the cars. I just put in here for an FYI, Kristen had told me how many she had left of the amount that we bought. And you can see, we kind of exceeded, we can't use leftover ones because we never have enough to get through the next year. But we are gonna work to maybe do a better job at getting a more cost-effective tag that still meets her needs. So this is just, we'll defer these for later on, but wanted you to know what we need to talk about. The park's all closed at this point, so there really is no closing. Is there anything else you need from us to close it up for the season?
Was the final trash picked up today?
Yep.
Thank you to Dave for that.
So the only thing I think we'd like to talk about is the benches. And I did notice some of them were under the pavilion already. So do you want to give us just a sense, Kristen, of what you've done so far? Are all the benches under the pavilion or just some of the benches? If you could just let us know what, and then I think we have to decide what we're going to do in total.
So my understanding was that we were going to use some of the benches to protect where the ATVs and whatever people use to drag those bob houses down the hill. Those benches were going to sort of act as a buffer to keep from the damage that's been happening the last few years when we don't have something in place to that grass that was planted, to the tree that was donated. So that's why you'll see that there are 7 benches still out. Everything else from the big beach was removed when we did full staff cleanup.
And when you say removed, did you leave the stakes in the ground so we can just go back and put them back in the same spot next year? Or did you pull the,
Those stakes are still in the ground.
so we can just hook them back up to those same
Correct.
stakes?
And right now, those benches are locked with the special wire and the locking underneath the pavilion. So because those are much easier to move than a picnic table, but they're not easy enough that one person could move them. Maybe gentlemen can, but I can tell you that I can't pick them up and move them successfully a long distance independently.
So I think after we talk about the benches, I want to talk about securing the picnic tables and benches. But, so I would just, my concern about the benches being a buffer is that they are secured into the ground, correct me if I'm wrong, just on one end. So stake, the wire, drilled in a hole on one side of the bench, keeps them from being stolen. But they could be easily bumped around with a car. So if somebody wanted to drive through there with an ATV, they could drive right through them. It really wouldn't stop them. And they might actually damage, my concern would be that they would actually damage the bench itself. I think in past years, correct me if I'm wrong, we've put up a fencing to try to prevent the areas, a snow fence to prevent the areas that we don't want people driving, correct?
Yeah, they're supposed to use the boat ramp, but, and honestly, I should get down there now before the ground freezes, because usually it's, I'm down there when the ground's frozen trying to get it in, but, along that edge, I was thinking that the benches were going to stay all the time out. But if we want to remove them, we definitely need, and I did think that that would be a deterrent, but I think if they're going to be removed and maybe put underneath the pavilion, we definitely need to go back to the
I'm
snow
afraid,
fencing.
because it's not like the benches over here that are sunk in the ground with cement. If you drive through them, you're gonna probably do damage. I think if somebody came through one of those benches, because they're only on one end,
I think they're just
they-
gonna pick them up and move them.
they could flip them around, and we're gonna risk damage. And I will go with whatever the commission feels we should do, but I guess I thought they were gonna, same thing, be unchained from the stake, stored, stakes would remain in the ground, so we could just put them back there next year. And if we need a buffer, we use a buffer in a different way, we don't use
I would
benches.
prefer, yeah, I'd prefer having a proper buffer and not potentially sacrificing benches.
I mean, does that create a problem? Do we have enough room to store?
We just have to get down there.
You have plenty of
and
space
move
to
them.
store.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of us could get down there and work to get them stored. I just hate to see them potentially be rammed into by we just know what they do and, I mean, they fix
Yeah.
they
They'll
fix
pick- and if
Bolton
they're not
and-
tied
yeah.
down, they're going to
And-
get picked up and brought out on the ice.
Well, even though they're tied down, you could still ram them on one side to get through, and then you're gonna ruin them.
And also, it could potentially snow enough that the benches are now fully covered
Disappear.
and no one even sees them and then runs over them entirely.
Right.
Yeah.
If, the- if- yeah.
So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, if there's a snow.
so I think it becomes not only a issue with ruining the benches, but also a safety issue.
So are we all in agreement then that the benches should go and be either under the pavilion and/or in the bathhouse?
Should be placed into some kind of storage, secure
I think that
storage.
they should be placed, they were an Eagle Scout project, they were donated to the town. As the mother of the scout who built them, he planned it, he fundraised for it, he executed it. Other than one scout, no other scouts helped him build this project. And the fact that it was deliberately put out as a buffer with the intent to leave it there is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Completely unacceptable.
And that wasn't that was not anything meant about it, it was just like, well, this is a great spot for this to go, because we have this issue, not anybody thinking there was gonna be
So
damage.
Pam,
But
are
we
you,
also have another option for that.
Yeah, so
Because
we
you
can leave
wouldn't
it.
use
Yeah,
picnic tables that were
Right.
donated by the scouts.
well, the picnic tables go under the thing, we weren't,
Right.
it's just that they're affixed to the ground.
Are
so it
you-
wasn't,
are
But
you-
they can be removed from the ground, the stakes can be
Yeah.
pulled up, or we can put a reflective driveway post where it is so that we can see them.
I would prefer,
Absolutely.
I would prefer the stakes to be to stay and marked, because it makes it easier for us next year, and I think they're all in good places. If we pull the stakes up, then we just gotta put them back in.
I don't know if there's a way to attach like flags to the stakes that,
You
I think just those reflectors would work in
Yeah,
those holes.
okay.
Yeah,
can get
And
them
that
for
would be
like
fine.
$2 at
Yeah.
Ocean
Yeah.
State Scout Club.
I would also like to clarify that, the Parks and Recreation Commission did not give any specific, instruction as to the placement of the benches prior to the closing of the season, and I would like to apologize for that and to recognize that, things were done as best as they could be on that day without any, ill intent. And I'm sorry that we didn't give instructions prior.
I appreciate that.
so can I,
Because it definitely was not done maliciously, and I'm sorry that that's the intent with what it was taken. Really, this is brand new for us, having these benches.
Yeah.
And so once they got staked into the ground, I didn't know the plan was ever for them, but also I don't know that I was part of that discussion anyway, so thank you for that.
so Pam, question, stored under the pavilion and/or maybe a few in the bathroom, are you okay with them being stored and secured under the pavilion?
That's why we had the wire, the covered
Okay.
wire to lock them down.
So that lends itself to the question of the 4 benches at the tennis courts. Now, the tennis courts are locked, so they can't be stolen from there, but they would be out in the
I
elements.
think they're fine to be out in the elements in that case
Okay.
because we're gonna change the code for the gate.
We
No
are,
one's gonna be
that's
able to
correct.
get in. I can't picture anyone climbing over
Right.
it and then hauling it up and over.
Correct.
But where it is an open space at
Yep.
Chase Park, they need
Okay.
to be under pavilion and attached to the picnic tables to make it very difficult to move.
So I think in light of what happened last year to our picnic tables, we need to look at a potential way of securing the picnic tables to the pavilion along with the benches, because we had one picnic table damaged as a result of being hauled out of there.
Yeah, when we get the benches next year, or the tables next year, we'll have to come up with a plan for this is how we store stuff.
I'm unaware of what the situation is that you're referring to.
So, with this spring, there was a picnic table sitting down in the water's edge. Somebody had taken it out from out of the pavilion, dragged it to the water's edge. In doing that, they broke the bench, a part of the bench, because I think they lifted it up. DPW helped us and we moved it from the water's edge back up, so when they let the water up, it wouldn't float away. So keep in mind, water's edge at that time. So we moved it back up the beach before the water was let in, and somebody dragged it back down again. So there's somebody in there dragging picnic tables around in the wintertime. So the thought was, if we had a way to secure with a similar kind of wire tether that we're gonna be using for the benches, that would go in the legs of the picnic tables, and then maybe around the pole of the pavilion, or just weaved around each other so they can't be moved apart, so we don't lose any more picnic tables. That was so the way you have them stacked is fine, we just have to figure out how
Just
to.
tie them together.
Yeah.
And if there's benches underneath the pavilion, like I think what John had, that cord that went
Yeah.
around them.
That's from
is
Harbor
what-
Freight.
Yeah,
Harbor Freight?
yeah.
Okay.
So we can just get another one to go around the picnic tables and it'll keep them together.
Yes,
Good idea.
security cable, big security cable.
So let me look on Harbor Freight and let's see what lengths they come in and so on and so forth. But then we would try before the winter to at least get up there and secure them. We have plenty, we could use the same, I think we have plenty of padlocks, because each bench has a padlock, so maybe we could even use one of those padlocks to do that, and then they'd all be secured. So I think what we need to do is, we just need to decide when we could get a few people up there to help move the benches that are still there and get them in under cover. A question I would have is if a few of them, would it be easier to put a few of them in one of the bathrooms? You prefer them under the pavilion?
Because
stacked
now the
with-
bathrooms have all of the buoys and
Okay.
Trash cans.
the lines and the trash
Okay.
cans and
So
everything
they're all-
that we need to
they're all
store.
filled. Okay, so, our to-do is to get a couple of us to get up there
Yeah.
and get them put under the pavilion.
I'll help.
You will?
Yep.
Great, perfect,
So let's organize this ASAP, so we
Okay.
can just get it out of the way.
great. Are you okay with that, Kristen?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, all right. Did you have something? The only other thing I had on the list is that Kristen had also asked for, 2 to 4 trash cans and possibly swim lines. How did the swim lines look? Are
We
we
have
getting-
one more year of them.
Okay, so
That's
those
it,
we don't need.
truly.
So as we get to December and we see what we have left in our budget, we'll address the trash cans.
And you should really look for 4 to 6 trash cans. 2 won't help us
Okay,
any.
4 to 6?
Yes,
And similar to what you have now with just plastic with the covers on them?
those really work well.
Okay.
And I don't even need the covers because we don't use the covers.
Oh, okay.
I just need the can body
It's like a
itself.
30, 50, it's the big ones, right?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
I think Country 3 does.
So I'm gonna keep this on the agenda, so as we get towards the end of the year,
Yep.
if we have the budget money, we'll get a price for them and then,
The
See if we
only
can get
thing
those
that I'll need to do next year to start is the 5-gallon pails filled with cement.
yeah,
Those ones that we had, they're no longer usable because the metal handle has dry rotted through, and so we had a couple of the large buoys break away because the handle pulled off. I think that's it.
okay.
Was that on plastic? Was that a plastic bucket? So maybe a rubber bucket might work better next year?
Well, the person who helps us put the lines out suggested that we really go back to the cinder blocks. He felt like the reason why we experienced so much movement is the large number of boats that we had on any given weekend going in, and because of us using the buckets and not cinder blocks, which could be more buoyant, that the line was shifting based on the amount of use.
So what we can do is, again, I'll add that to the list, and even if we don't address it in this budget, January, February, March, as we're preparing, we will.
Yes.
Can you just make sure we have John's email address? So if we coordinate to get up and get the benches, we could do that and get those undercover. So is there anything else related to Chase Park that you would like us to, we appreciate all that you did and your staff, and the park looked great all summer. And I know you had some challenges with Canadian geese, but you guys did a great job keeping the place looking nice. So we thank you for that.
Oh, you got it.
Thank you, Kristen.
You bet.
Thank you.
And we'll get to the budget when we get to that part, but did you guys have anything else you wanted to add? So everybody good with Chase Park? Okay, we'll go back to, I just wanted to quickly talk about CIP planning. So this year, the process was a little bit different than in the past. There really isn't a CIP committee anymore, so it is the planning, pretty sure it was the planning board that I went to.
Planning and zoning board?
Yeah. I think it was planning board the other night. I'm spacing on the name, but anyways, it doesn't matter. We all had to go and present sort of what we wanted. We had not had a lot of time to talk about it here, nor did I think we had anything we were going to ask money-wise for. But because it is a whole set of new people, I essentially went back with last year's presentation about the needs for fields. So I gave them, pretty much copied the CIP proposal, less any money from last year. We had probably a 20-minute discussion over the continued need for fields. And I did go back through my notes. I had included in that some of the numbers that WAC and JR Generals had given me in terms of how many athletes they had over the last, I think it went back to 2022. So we kind of tried to go post-COVID because COVID screwed up a lot of the numbers. And I can send that to you guys. And so there was a lot of discussion about, well, let's look at different properties that we can buy. You know, let's look at property that may be available right now to buy. But here's where the discussion kind of went. It's like what comes first? So last year we had talked about having an engineering firm. We asked for money for an engineering firm to come in and help us look at, here's how many athletes we have, here's how many teams, here's how many fields we need to put forth, and here's what we think, based on what we're being told from WAC and JR Generals, as to what we're going to need for additional fields. So WAC had come back last year with needs for additional baseball fields, one where they could do Babe Ruth play, additional soccer fields so that maybe the soccer field at Bolton could now become dedicated to football and lacrosse practice, and there wouldn't be that fighting going on. We talked about the building of a multi-purpose field. You go to many other towns, the fields are laid out for both soccer, field hockey, things like that. We even talked about the potential for one, what would it look like to have an AstroTurf field where we could always have a field that you didn't have to worry about rusting. Didn't mean we were going to do it, but an engineering firm could help us with those kinds of things. We withdrew the request for the engineering firm last year because we were focused on the East Road property based on the direction that the board had given us. And when it became controversial, we pulled the engineering study because we knew we had to figure out what was going to happen with the field before we brought engineers in. So we talked last week with the board, the planning board. If we go out and just, first of all, we don't have money for piece of property. We'd have to go to a warrant article to do that. And we don't know, do we need 10 acres? Do we need 20 acres? And how much money are we gonna need? And so I think as a board here, and we've talked about doing a strategic plan, but we still have needs for fields. We are on probably a very short timeline that the tennis court will have to be addressed. We're in the third season of what we were told would be potentially 5 seasons, and we would experience cracks, which we already are, that would potentially create danger if they start to crack on the play surface. Right now, we're lucky, the cracks are big, but they're between the 2 courts. And the usage of those courts has tripled, if I had to make an estimate. And to shut them down and take them away from the townspeople would be disappointing. It is, we do a lot for youth sports, we should be. It's a facility that a lot of adults use, and now we're seeing John Stark use it. The middle school is starting to have some usage over there. So we have to have a plan to either fix that in the current location or move it to a if we had a piece of property where we could put multiple fields. We talked about potential savings. You don't need as many trash cans, porta potties. You could have a gate, you could monitor. So that was the plan for East Road. It was the ability to have 5 to 7 fields, potential relocation of the tennis courts. And now that still has not been addressed, and James, I guess we've been putting it off month to month, but, where are they with that? It's almost a year now.
Yep.
Yeah, and there was a study that was asked to be done too, and I don't know whether the people who asked for that study to be done have done it.
So our chairman has done a study on, which article was that?
There were 2 of them, weren't there?
There
Well,
were
there was- well, there were-
conflicting,
There were the 2 conflicting ones about what
and
to
then
do
there was a
about,
prior.
right, and then there was one about doing a study on, and I've lost what that was. There-
I don't remember.
Which one, what was that study?
It came up as like, just, I think, really just a way to push back the,
A study on
Right, I'm trying to remember.
property for an athletic complex?
No, it was, I don't remember what it was. I know, and, forgive me, I know Janice went, our chairman went
Yeah.
through a lot of detail and presented it to the board and to anybody that was there. So it can be found online where we were discussing that.
How long ago was that?
Maybe 2 meetings ago, maybe
Okay.
possibly 3. I'd have to go back and take a look at it.
Can you summarize real quick was there one end solution, or?
Well, so that was the study of whatever it was.
Okay.
Which was not necessarily part of the East,
Yeah.
the East Road issue. In regards to the East Road, there's no major movement on that other than we do have a new town council. We will be getting additional review of the whole situation from them.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the prior town council reviewed and came in with their findings?
They had basically several conflicting decisions all in one.
Okay.
So
Are those findings are available to the public?
No, those are still considered part of the council, client privilege.
Okay.
So they have not been released to the general public. I could be wrong.
No, I just am, if the client is the town and the town is the taxpayer, that is confusing to
Well,
me.
it still goes through the selectmen, the board of selectmen, which represents the town. And so it's up to it's the selectmen that go to the attorney to get that information. So there are things that are still part of that. They're not released to the public.
So provided, I know you as a board cannot control per se any warrant article that goes through by petition. That has to happen. But you do vote on, if I remember the process last year, you have the ability to say, we're gonna allow a warrant article by a department to go forward or not.
Yes,
So if we wanted to put a warrant article, let's say for an engineering study, it has to go before the board.
yep, and then we would
If-
approve it, or,
And so if a board and/or commission were to move forward with a warrant article to try to do something with the East Ware property before that legal decision comes in, would the board allow that to happen? Do you have a sense of that?
I don't have a sense of what the board would do. I would not recommend that personally. It's just gonna muddy the waters
Right.
that much more.
So I
What I
get-
can tell you that has been done publicly is that the gentleman who had been haying that and had been putting fertilizer down has been given notice that he's not gonna be going forward with that without any kind of a lease. The Conservation Committee was working on putting together a lease, I believe, but that has not been completed to my knowledge. So as of right now, there's nothing pending on that,
Okay.
for that piece of property. So, one step has
Right.
been, sort of set, in that
Right.
we're not going to be haying that without a lease going forward.
And I asked that question not because I want this commission to put anything forward, but that no board or commission would try to jump in this warrant cycle to try to do something before the legal opinion came back down. I guess is my hope, that the Board of Selectmen wouldn't let a warrant article go through
Well, the
that
way
would
the-
bind the property without having a legal opinion on the two votes.
I don't think we can.
Okay,
I don't
all
think
right.
we can. It's still a question, there are the two articles that are
Still,
in conflict.
And the prior article that
Right.
was passed
Right.
years ago that also factors in.
right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's
There's 3 articles.
There's a lot going on there.
So I guess why I'm bringing this here is, we know we need some level of fields. We gotta figure out what that is. We know we need to do something with the tennis courts. We need to think about what all of this is gonna cost us, and do we have the ability to do that without, trying to at least secure an engineering firm or some type of firm to help us look at numbers, layout, and sort of come out to that property. There was discussion about the property that has just come up for sale that borders Bolton. The challenge there is,
Where's Bolton?
Yes.
yeah, so it's the farmhouse that sits as you enter, has 2 acres of land with the home, and there's 12.5 acres that goes around it and goes up the roadway. The challenge there is, 1, we don't have the money. 2, we don't even know if that acreage is enough. 3, we don't even know the topography. So does it go, can you even flatten it out? We know nothing about it. And so, it would be nice to really look at it. I did try to reach out to the individual who originally owned the Bolton property, if he might be able to give me a sense of, do you think it's similar to what the Bolton property was, and what was that? Was there a lot of ledge? What was there, just to give us at least a sense.
How many undeveloped acres are there at Bolton
A lot.
that were already on the prior long-term?
So there, if you look at the tax map, it's significant, but it's in conservation. It's not my understanding is
Yeah, it's not recreation. Not that part's not set aside
it's the,
for fields.
what we have was set aside for recreation and fields, and the rest was put into conservation, is my understanding. And so, there's a challenge there of, is that the rest of the property even available if conservation dollars were used? And I'm not saying we don't look into it, but again, if conservation dollars were used to purchase that part of the property, or if it was put into conservation and there's any easements there, it may prohibit us. So I think there's still research to be done on the Bolton
Yeah,
property,
'cause
but
it's my because I thought there was a long-term plan that used more of that property.
there is a file upstairs we
okay.
can pull. And
Yeah.
we can take a look at it.
Because also, field use is an allowable use under most conservation.
I actually talked last year, I talked to the state, I called somebody at the state and asked about conservation easements, what were allowed, and to simplify it, anything that will dig up the soil is not allowed. So you can walk a dog. I even asked why, in some cases, can you restrict horseback riding? And you can, because it tears up the ground. So you can have walking people, you can have walking a dog, but if you are doing anything that disturbs the soil, then most of the easements that we have in this town prohibit, the way they stand today, and I don't know that they can be changed, and part of the challenge is when conservation dollars are used, now you have to be very careful.
But that's why you can allow snowmobiles in the wintertime, because the ground's frozen, you're not technically tearing it up.
But you can't put ATVs on the trails.
Unless
the
it's written
summer.
into it that you can't.
Right,
Yeah, well,
Right.
right, but there are,
right.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to leave in about 5 minutes. I didn't know we were getting into this, and I have to stop at my parents', on my way out of here. So, is this something that we are doing tonight? Because I know we were trying to get through everything.
Give me 5 more minutes. and-
Sure.
So, again, I didn't ask the planning, I said to him, right now, I am not here to tell you we're gonna need money. But they are a planning committee that needs to understand that we need to do some things over the next 5 years that are gonna cost dollars. And I left it to be determined what those dollars are. But I think, and we don't have to do it tonight, but we have to think about, is there anything we want to go forward in the budget process via warrant article, whether that be to secure a firm to help us with the planning process? Is it, 2 years ago, we had a warrant article to try to put some funds into the capital reserve fund for Parks and Rec, similar to what they do for the fire trucks. They put so much in every year, so that, again, if we were to get a plan and a piece of property came up, we'd have some funding there. I've talked to you guys before, and I think I sent you the documents on the state grants. There's a significant state grant available up to $1 million, but there's a lot of steps, like having funding in a capital reserve fund to show that the town is committed to doing this. So we really, I kind of left the door open just a little bit, that if we had to, we'd come back. But as of right now, it was more educational. But for you guys who are new,
Yep.
we've got to start thinking about, because if we don't do anything, if a piece of property comes up, we don't even know what we want.
right, like that property that was next to the elementary school
So that was
that
talked.
did have a baseball
Right,
diamond on it.
so that was talked about at the meeting. Again, it's not for sale, but if it were to come up, but what's the acreage of that property? And again, how many acres would you need to lay out the number of fields that you need? Last year, when I reached out to the engineering company, I had gotten a quote for them. It was in the $50,000 range. They were gonna come in and take a look at that East Road property. At the time, we thought the Board of Selectmen had said you can use this property. We reached out to an engineering company. They were gonna come in, take the data that we had, number of teams, potential field needs, and say, this is how you could lay out a property, and this is how much acreage you would need to include parking, bathroom facility, that type of thing, and we dropped that.
That can all still be done without actually having the property though, because we would at least get an idea of what size we're looking at.
Well, that-
And that's something we can accomplish with, while we're waiting on everything else to happen.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that if we think in this upcoming, it would have to be a warrant article, do we want to think about securing an engineering firm to help us do the planning? So then we at least have something to go back to the town with to say, this is what we're gonna need. And you could do so many fields a year to get to ultimately where you want to get. I think included in that is, do you continue to maintain Purington Field the way that we do? You know, are there fields that we would release? Tennis court location, if you were to move it, do you release it? I'm just throwing things out, but that would be all part of the plan. So give some thought to it. We'll talk about it in November, but those dates are gonna come quickly, because if we're gonna have to put any type of warrant article together, we are gonna need to think about that pretty quickly. That makes sense? So I know you sent an email out about, or text about,
Oh, no, I was just, like, I saw it and I'm like,
But
it's at
there's-
least worthy to look at and
It's
find
just
out
we-
what the info is.
yeah, have no money, so.
I had thought that property that was next to the school was kind of given to the school as, you know, as a right of first refusal kind of thing.
It was,
Yeah,
but I
that's
don't
my
think it's gone up for sale yet.
No, it's still sitting.
Yeah, but I think the school has kind of said, I got the sense the school said, we don't think we'd be interested, but if you were, we'd be happy to talk to you because we have right of first refusal. But again, I don't even know what the acreage is. Is it 5 acres? Is it 10? Is it 20? I mean, I have no idea.
I
The,
don't
the
remember.
reason the Bolton, this property that just came up, if all things aligned, it was level, it was the right kind of soil, all of those things, you already have a roadway in there, you already have a gate set up, you could start to at least have everything in one place, and that was the probably most attractive piece of that property. But I just don't, we aren't in any position to purchase it. So, all right, moving on, I just wanted to update you as to what I did at CIP.
Thank you.
I'm gonna jump ahead then for Lisa, just wanted to have a moment.
So, couple things, the tennis court signs have been ordered.
Cool.
I haven't heard about them getting back.
They come in like,
They should have been quick. It should have been quick, and it was ordered like last month, so I haven't heard back from her. I got a message like,
do we need to call her?
so I shouldn't say I haven't
Okay.
heard back. She did mention that she messaged and said, is this the right size or something about something, and I was like, yes, and she said, oh, okay, then I got it right, and I was like, okay, I didn't realize it wasn't in yet, so I haven't heard back from her since then, though.
Are you gonna reach out to her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, so I will reach out. The Purington Field's all done, so I've asked the porta potty company, American Guardian, to pick up. Bolton and Inison will be done for soccer, so I've asked them to be picked up early next week. That leaves one for football, because football has their own down there.
Okay.
What do you want for tennis courts is my next question.
I think they can be picked up. We were gonna talk tonight about the closing date, but I don't think you need them there. They're used more by the public than they are by the,
Tennis court.
and the library, when it's open, has bathroom facilities, so.
Okay, so
Most
I'll
of
take care
the,
of that.
I
And the
shouldn't say
Legion,
it's
when it's
not being
open, has
used because it
bathrooms,
still is, but their library has offered up their bathrooms, so I think we can,
Maybe next year we look into not putting up portage on there if the library's willing to accommodate.
They're not open all the time.
yeah.
Okay.
And the
Just
people who
Yeah.
use it do need it.
Yeah.
a thought,
Yeah, like they're not open on Sundays.
yeah.
Yeah, it would be really nice. The tennis courts are getting a lot more use. I think you said 3 times as much as your guess, but I would guess that it's more like 10 times as much as it did
It's
5 years
very
ago.
busy down there.
Yeah, so which has been really nice to see. The other thing is that I have a zillion things going on right now, personally and professionally, and, I am resigning, as director. And effective the end of the month. You don't really need a director for November and December, so that'll save you a little money. So hopefully that can go to something good. But I started this so that, or joined, because I really wanted to get Chase Park up and running and, back to what it was when I was working there at 15, and I believe we're definitely there, thanks to Kristen and a really good commission, that has made sure that the place is kept up and clean. So it's proof that it can work. So, but I have a lot of things to do, and, it's been a little bit of a challenge this year for me to handle personal stuff and this. And that being said, I'm here, so if anybody needs me for anything, I will I'll answer my phone, I'll help with getting somebody situated next year, I'll do anything I can. I'll still volunteer like I've been volunteering, but, I don't really wanna do meetings and that kind of thing anymore.
Understandable.
Well, we thank you for your service and all the work
Thank
and
you.
your dedication, and
Thank you.
we're gonna miss you, and, but we completely understand, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you that you're willing to take our calls when we
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
get somebody on
so,
board.
and I did resign as of the end of this month, so I'll keep going. I think getting down to the park and getting a snow fence put up is something that needs to happen, because usually I end up doing that in December. That's not good. So that will be one of my projects,
Is
and,
there anything that you need assistance with wrapping up before?
getting the snow
Step
fence
away?
in would be really helpful, because, honestly, my kids usually help me with that, and their schedules have gotten to be really hectic. So just,
I wonder
Yeah.
if we could coordinate, get the
We
benches.
could do it all one day.
Yeah,
That would
get
be
the
ideal.
benches
that'd be
done.
really good.
So,
Yeah.
just to know that there is end-of-year closing, so we've gotta get the sunshades down at Bolton. We've gotta get the tennis nets down and put away. The benches,
Yep.
the fence
Yep.
up. So there is a list of about 4 or 5
Yeah,
things.
and the benches are
that
not
have-
something I can lift on my own
Right.
either, so,
So maybe through email, only to say, here's a couple of dates, and
Yeah.
people just chime in if
We
they're
should
available.
prioritize Chase Park. Everything else falls in afterwards.
yeah.
The other thing we've done in the past is we've divided and conquered. So for example, I went up and did the tennis court nets, and Salem went down and did the sunshades, and so that we were able to get some of those things done. So that's another option too.
Yeah, I mean, the sunshades is 1 or 2 people. That's what I'm saying.
Well, the sunshades need to go,
In the
they
trash
do need to go
cans.
in those metal trash cans and make sure that they're
I
closed,
just
because otherwise
knocked
the
it,
mice will get to them.
I knocked a dead mouse out of there the other day,
Yeah.
and it was dead. All right, so, are you good there?
Yeah.
Yep, all right, thank
Yep,
you,
that's
Lisa.
about it.
If you have to leave.
I do,
get it,
I've
yeah,
gotta
all
get
right.
over to my dad.
So,
I'll
I,
leave this stuff here for you.
we still have, it's 9:30, we still have a lot of agenda, and as I said, Beth sent out, we got a budget we have to get done by the end of the month. Would you guys be willing to entertain another meeting before
We
the
need
end
a
of the
working
month?
session. We do.
Yeah, yeah.
We have to.
And finish this. Most of what's left is the budget. I will just give a couple other quick updates. So the,
Let me know if I can do anything, okay?
Yeah, actually, if you let me know when we can meet, Saturdays are, because I now have a
I'll-
class I'm taking.
I'll get a email going about potential dates to
Yeah.
get those things done, and I'll get them out this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
And we'll get you help on
I
that.
can let you know about the other schedules, my Boston trips.
Okay.
Definitely help.
Okay.
The slide
Thank you,
went,
Lisa.
the slide went to Claremont this week.
Okay.
So it's in the fabricating shop. Hopefully will get repaired and then can get put back up. Makes the shed over there kind of crowded. We did have vandalism at the shed at Bolton Field. Somebody tried to chisel the lock off.
Of course.
Tim
Burgess.
Burgess fixed it. He patched it. I did see him the other day, and I talked to Naomi. We have asked him to give me a quote to build 2 brand-new doors. Those doors are pretty bad. So he's going to go over and measure them, get us, look at the material, time, something that he might be able to work on over the winter. We would bring it back here for a vote, but we do need to do something for those doors because somebody has tried to get in there, and I'm surprised they didn't succeed, but our pump is in there, so
We
it's
need to ask
important.
where PD to be in there more often.
Well, I did go down, where PD is in there a lot. I can tell you they're in there a lot. I saw them go in there the other day. They were following me and they pulled in there midday. I submit the reports when these things happen. I talk to them. They are in there a lot. It is just very,
So
very
they're
hard.
working with you on.
Oh,
all right.
absolutely.
Okay.
And, which, again, we can talk about it at another meeting, but we have to talk about when we start locking the gates for the season, both Bolton, Inison, and the tennis courts, to lock that up, so we could do that real quickly at the, if we have another meeting. And I haven't heard any more from JR Football, but I did go down there and walk all around. They could get something in there. You're shaking your head.
They're not getting a truck around the backside of that building.
No,
I wouldn't
but-
try to put my pickup truck behind the back of that building.
No, but if you walk around the front of that building, there is a pretty large,
Yes.
very solid buffer that a truck could get back into. And it almost looks like when they put that building in, they extended the gravel packing. That would be a great place to
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
put it. So they haven't gotten back to me, but I do think that they can get it in there, coming around the front without damaging the field whatsoever. It's a pretty good distance. So I
Potentially.
felt comfortable,
We need to know where the piping is. That's the big thing, where the water lines are.
right.
If the water lines run out across the front, they can't drive a truck over it.
I have been in contact with the irrigation company, so I could ask them to, they're gonna go winterize our irrigation systems as soon as they can get to it. I also talked to them about the electric bill at Inison. The gentleman said, absolutely, when we fix, there's the pump down there, and I wrote it down, but he gave me the voltage and all of that on the pump. He said, for the amount of time that you were running that pump twice a day, I'm not surprised at all that your electric bill was that high. So I think we need to keep that in mind for next year. Either we don't run it twice a day for that amount of time, or we're gonna need to increase the budget. Because he said that would be about what your electric bill is gonna run if you run it twice a day for the amount of time that we ran it. So it wasn't a fluke thing, it wasn't something that WAC was running down there. He said absolutely, when we fixed that pump and got it back online, he believes that's what sucked the power up, so,
Okay, we'll look at a new watering schedule next year.
yeah, so we want to keep that in mind.
Okay.
So I think as far as loose ends, things that I was able to just pull together, and that Lisa, we just got to get the porta potties and the trash bins out, and, because we're about, we've spent about our entire budget on those line items. I gave you budget packets, so you can take them home and look at them. So what are you guys thinking as far as potential?
Do you wanna do the 22nd, if we can get in here?
October 22nd?
Oh, yeah, schedule, that helps. 29th is open on Tuesday, and the 30th is open. Unless we wanna do a Friday and whatever.
I could do the 29th on a Tuesday. Could you guys do the 29th?
29th.
Is that enough time for us to accomplish what we need to for
Well,
November?
what I would do is focus that whole meeting pretty much on budget.
Yeah,
So we could review where we are year-to-date, and then talk about, Beth emailed us all, but I printed you each a copy of what the proposed budget would be, so we could really take a look at if there's any areas that we might want to, we think we might need to increase. I think we want to take a look at where we ended up with porta potties and trash removal. I think we have to talk about, will we need any increases at Chase Park? I think the new sheets that I printed out are finish out Chase Park, so we should have all the salaries paid out.
Okay.
So I think when you look at the salary line item for Chase Park, I think it's up to date. I would like to talk about next year not being open the entire Columbus Day weekend, because I think Kristen sat in the little shed with nothing to do. I think the major business those last few weekends are getting boats out of the water.
Yeah.
And we could have a boats out of the water schedule.
Yeah.
An afternoon on a Saturday or Sunday, but really cut back on.
Did we have a different
say-
day than the 29th that's
Let's
possible? or-
schedule before we,
The only other day was the 30th, I think.
30th or Fridays, this Friday, the 25th.
I can do any Friday.
I can do the Fridays.
I
if
can
need
do
be.
any of the available days.
Yeah,
That was come in on a Friday.
I know.
Are you not
available.
able to do the 29th?
I'm not, and I can tell you Dave is not gonna be able to.
Okay.
I'm in Durham, and then I was going to stay for an event
Okay.
in Exeter, and I can tell you Dave's gonna be at that event in Exeter.
Okay.
'Cause
So what works better, Friday the 25th or Wednesday the 30th?
Wednesday, the 30th works well for me.
I'm not
Or-
available until after 7:30 on Wednesdays.
You said Friday, the 25th?
The 30th,
No.
I am not available.
Okay. I can make the 25th work.
Can you make the 25th work? Can you make the 25th work?
I can.
Can you make the 25th work? for you?
I can.
Is Kyle still on the phone?
No, Kyle
Okay.
dropped a long time ago.
All right, well, we'll find out, but we could at least have a quorum, I think.
Yep.
Thinking of the timing of, if it's a, we don't have to post the schedule or anything like that, so.
We've
I-
got plenty of time to post.
I can
Yeah,
post, I
we
can
just have to
literally post
post
it
it.
It has to be
tomorrow.
24 hours.
And I think all we have to put is working session, not
Yeah.
a proper
But we do
agenda.
have to post, it'll be a working session on the budget, and then we have to do minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what was discussed.
Yes.
So 25th, 7 o'clock.
Will it be live streamed?
What?
Will it be streamed?
I
If
don't
it's
think
a
we
budget
have to
discussion?
stream it.
Okay.
I don't
The,
believe
the,
that we
the
do.
advantage to streaming it
think we
is
should
we
stream
can
it.
get the minutes done by,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I would like to stream it
Yeah, I'd prefer to at least.
where, yeah,
When possible.
I'd prefer, like, for us only to have non-public streamed if it's, has to do with,
If it has to
Like-
be non-public.
yeah, if it has to do with.
so did you want to do
Individuals.
7 o'clock, or does anybody want to move it up earlier because it's a Friday night, or stick with 7?
I can do anything after 5:30. So whatever.
I can do 6.
6?
You want to do 6 o'clock? So
Okay.
Friday?
Yeah.
Hopefully only be here till 9.
October 25th at 6 PM. Tomorrow, I will work to book the room. I will try to get an agenda together and get it posted, and what I will do is I think the key to making it go as quickly as we can is to review those budget documents that I gave you, and be thinking about, do we want anything, we have a little more time on a warrant article thing, but just be thinking about that. But we do just need to review this month's budget and then look at the budget for next year. Because there were just a couple of things that I had highlighted in this month's budget that we're getting a little bit tight on. But again, because we can move things around, I think we're going to be closer on salaries than I thought we were going to be. So I'm not sure we have as much wiggle room, but we still may be okay. All right? Sorry that it's so packed, but it just seems like,
Well, it's end of season, there's a lot of stuff coming up, and there's a lot of stuff that was unexpected coming up.
so I think the one thing that we'll do is get a couple emails out about the end of season, things that we need to do. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pam, last year, like Bolton Field, was it the end of November we locked it, or the beginning of,
I think it was the end of November, and then we opened it the week of school break in
No,
April.
October, because I had to get the key, or the code so I could get the Cub cars.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
but I think we've got football in there into November.
Yeah.
Now we have football in there till November.
So I will send an email to Shelley, to the football folks, and to the WAC folks, and get their last date. And maybe that becomes the date at which we lock the gate.
That's what I would like to do.
And if they're done with Inison, there's no reason we couldn't look at locking Inison now.
Yeah, we aren't finished yet.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So let's get an end date for Inison. And then I would say on the tennis courts, we usually, like,
The weather's nice, you keep going into
right,
November.
right. I will take the tennis nets down only because they're hard to get down in the really cold weather, but they could still continue to play pickleball up there until the first snow, and then you just go up, lock it, and change the lock, is what I would recommend for there. But I probably would set a date to take the nets down, put it on our Facebook page, and then I can go up and take those down, because I've done it now for a couple of years. I can do it pretty quick. And I just store them in the bin.
Yeah.
I do want to say, I do hate locking up the parks. I 100% agree with we should be able to have access to them. I hate locking away a playground and it doesn't snow until February, But yeah, at the same time, we're spending a lot of money that's gonna be sitting back there, and we've already got trespassing. And like I said, that mulch will disappear in a heartbeat.
I think we just set ourselves up for, if we don't lock them quickly, especially Bolton, they'll be down there on the frozen
Yep.
surface trying to drive around.
Oh.
That'd be
So-
down there, whether it's frozen or not.
Yes,
Hopefully the slide gets put back before,
Are we all set?
so we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn our meeting at 9:48.
I will second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Better not be.
Ayes have it. Just get me John's email.
Oh, does
so
this
when I
need to
submit-
go somewhere?
That needs to go back up.
Okay. Thank you, Pam.
So I just have to, my daughter's been texting me.
I